Here.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
Mr. McKinnon?
Here.
Dr. Pritchard?
Here.
Ms. O'Connell?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Vice Chair Wallace?
Here.
And Chair Sharp.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Wilbanks.
I'm here.
I've marked you as here. I've been just talking to you so much that I just,
Thank you.
thank you for reminding me.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the front right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left of the podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on one meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would now like to get an approval of our minutes from the March meeting. May I please have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair. Second.
I hear a motion and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. At this time, we would like to ask if there are any director's remarks today?
No, ma'am, they're not.
No? Okay.
And I don't have a secretary's report. So if you'd like, I'll move into the procedures for the meeting.
Okay.
Say yes.
No, there's no director's report or secretary's report.
Okay. All right, then it's, you can
Go into the procedures for the
go
meeting.
into the procedures. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on that matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party or for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take the final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support or in opposition to the case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of the applicants since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments please be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allowance. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to all silence your cell phone so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. I would now like to move to the consent agenda. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 20 as the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of these items individually, please come forward and give us the item number, and we will pull the case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote. And following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, will you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 1, case S22-04 in Whitehaven. The request is a 42-lot, single-family residential subdivision at the parcel partially enclosed by Mickey, Patty Ann, and Timothy Drives. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 3, case MJR 22-07 in Cordova. The request is a major modification to add additional parking for an existing sports facility at 237 Woodland Lake Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions, and we have a friendly amendment that Mr. Ragsdale will read in.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. We are going to amend condition number 2, the friendly amendment, to read: the required buffer from Grays Creek shall adhere to the approved site plan, which meets all pertinent TDEC regulations. The approved site plan shall not be subject to engineering comment number 4 contained within this staff report.
All right. Item number 7, case MJR 22-11 in Whitehaven. The request is a time extension for an approved 19-lot re-subdivision at 4392 McCorkle Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 11, case MJR 22-15 in South Memphis. The request is a major modification to allow the installation of a 30-kilowatt diesel generator and ATS as a backup power supply for the existing telecommunications tower at 1500 Hernando Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 12, case S2209 in Shelby County. The request is a 2-lot subdivision creating a flag lot. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 13, case S22-12 in Southeast Memphis. The request is a 78-lot single-family subdivision at 0 Ridgeway Boulevard, which is on the north side of Ridgeway Boulevard between Hickory Hill and Ridgeway Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 14, case PD 22-04 in East Memphis. The request is a hotel at the parcel between 6580 and 6584 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 17, case PD 22-07 in Hickory Hill. The request is an amendment to the Ross Creek Plan Development to allow a car wash establishment at 6685 Shelby Drive. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 18, case SUP 21-40 in Lake Village. The request is a convenience store with gas pumps at 5551 Hacks Cross Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 19, case SUP 22-05 in Central Memphis. The request is an apartment complex at 3100 Walnut Grove Road and an adjacent parcel. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 20, case SUP 22-08 in Hickory Hill. The request is a special use permit to allow a car wash establishment at 2966 Kirby Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. That is our consent.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with 1 vote, subject to the recommendation of the DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items number 2, 6, 9, 4, 10, 14, 16 will be heard. Not 14, I'm sorry, 15 and 16. Okay. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings, and where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 1, case S2204. Item number 3, case MJR 22-07 as amended. Item number 7, case MJR 22-11. Item number 11, case MJR 22-15. Item number 12, case S2209. Item number 13, case S22-12. Item number 14, case PD 22-04. Item number 17, case PD 22-07. Item number 18, case SUP 21-40. Item number 19, case SUP 22-05. And item number 20, case SUP 2208. And please show me recusing myself from item number 3.
Okay, thank you again, Ms. Wilbanks. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Okay, is there any discussion? Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll go to Dr. Pritchard now for our regular agenda.
Agenda item number 1, S22-04, Whitehaven.
That was, no, that
Do-
was two.
Oh, was that on the consent? Excuse me. Item number 2, MJR 22-05, East Memphis, correspondence to PD 06364.
Chairwoman, please show me recused from item number 2.
In the middle. In the middle.
There we go. All right. Thank you.
Read it again.
You want me to repeat?
Number 2.
I'm going to repeat
Here you go.
agenda item number 2, MJR 22-05, East Memphis, correspondence to PD 06-364. Major modification to allow multi-family apartment use on Lot 2 of the Eudora Plan Development at 4684 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Is the applicant present? If you would come up and give us your name
Yes,
and address.
Corey Brady, 9967 Bentwood Creek Cove, Collierville, Tennessee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll now have a presentation from the staff.
Sure, absolutely. Lucas Skinner with the Division of Planning and Development. I'll go through this pretty quickly just to recap since we did hear it last month. So again, this is MJR 2022-005. This is for apartments on Lot 2 of the Eudora Plan Development at 4684 Poplar. Just to remind everyone, this is right at the essentially at the intersection of Poplar and South Perkins. Get to the existing 2006 outline plan for the Eudora PD. This is somewhat of the current site plan, landscape plan, again, elevations, just to remind you of where we are. So to bring it up to speed, essentially, most of the opposition, to my knowledge, is in agreement with outline plan conditions that I handed out to all of you, which we will get to in a minute. So we are still recommending approval with conditions, more than likely with amended conditions that have been provided for you. There was a trip generation study that we presented last time. The applicant has also had a traffic study done, which I can let them speak about. Essentially, that the impact of this development won't need really any changes. They did note the concern of the school traffic for that time, but still didn't really need any changes to the development at this time for traffic. So with that, I can answer any questions, but I thought I'd let the applicant and subsequent parties speak.
Okay. I'm thinking we have opposition as well.
Yes.
No, Madam Chairman. Cindy Reeves, that's our consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200. I want to thank the applicant and the staff for working with the neighbors and with us, and we have come to an agreement, and there is no opposition, so we support the project.
Okay. We're ready to hear from the applicant then.
Madam Chairman, thank you again. A lot has transpired since our last hearing, and as Cindy stated, we held another neighborhood meeting and spoke to various, collaborated with the neighbors and have reached agreement. We're in agreement with the revised conditions that have been presented to you today, but in addition to that, I'd also like to introduce Danny Van Horn, who represents the Carruthers family, who owns the property where Soulfish is operated.
Good morning, Danny Van Horn, 4205 Park Avenue. I'm an attorney who represents the Carruthers family, as indicated, that owns the land under which Soulfish. I was here last month. Our concern was primarily ingress and egress, and I'd like to thank the folks at Perkins Flats. It's really responsible development, what we've seen from them. We've worked with them over the last month. They've agreed to shift the building to the north, so instead of the driveway being on the north, it's on the south, and we've worked out an agreement to provide ingress and egress for the Soulfish property. They've been good to work with. At times I'm sure it's been contentious back and forth, but they have been responsible developers, and so we appreciate them. And I think it was Ms. O'Connell that said that we needed to pay something towards those costs, and I wanted to tell you we are in fact paying something towards those costs. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the applicant and or supporter at this time? Do you have any questions? Okay, hearing none, I see we do have one person in opposition. And I can't pronounce your last name, so tell us your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Mandana Hushiar, and I live on 289 Woodmont Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38117. I'm in opposition with the case because it has access to South Perkins. All these 100 plus cars going to use South Perkins to reach to interstates. The interstate entrance is on North Perkins. Right now with actual traffic, we have problems. This neighborhood belongs to elderly and families with young children. People are deciding to put fences, cutting the canopy trees, to just basically do something about the traffic. I'm not sure how this is studied on or actually what are the factors in this study, but if anyone checked that area between 7 and 8 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. could actually figure out that we do not have access. With White Station High School on one end and St. Mary on the other end, the only roads that we could use are actually blocking, and everybody is just asking for more speed bumps on the street. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the opposition at this time? Any questions? Okay, applicant, you have 3 minutes of rebuttal if you so desire.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, Marty Lipinski is here. If there are any questions from the board pertaining to the traffic impact study that was prepared, I'd be happy to have Marty answer those questions. Thank you.
Good morning. Martin Lipinski, 774 East Snowden Circle, Memphis, Tennessee. I did complete the traffic impact study at the request of the board. My findings were that even with the additional traffic, the levels of service at the Poplar-Perkins intersection and at the two Walgreen drives did not decrease. So the overall levels of service are very acceptable even with the site traffic.
Thank you. Any questions? Questions? Okay, hearing none, then I will close the public portion of the meeting. And may I get a motion, please?
Move approval of agenda item number 2, MJR 22-05.
Second.
Okay, we have a second, we have a motion. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just a couple comments. First of all, Dr. Lipinski, I've got great respect for him and appreciate his analysis. Our firm has used him before, and I think he's answered the traffic question. Secondly, I think this is a great looking building. I think the architect's done a really good job. I know these developers are first class act guys. They do what they say they're going to do. And then lastly, I just want to congratulate and thank the Cindy Reeves and the opposition and the Carruthers group and the applicant to get together and shift this building around and make it work. I was at Soulfish the other night and driving through that parking lot thinking, gosh, this is going to be great if we can keep this operational. So it sounds like it's all going to work out. And I plan to support the case.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Pritchard?
Agenda item number 4, PD 22-01 Frasier, extension of manufactured home park at 3903 Flaxwood Lane and 2 adjacent parcels. Staff recommendation is approval with outline plan conditions.
Is the applicant present? If so, could you give us your name and address?
Yes, ma'am. Homer Brannon, 999 South Shady Grove.
Okay, thank you. We will now have a presentation from our staff, and then we'll hear from the applicant and the opponents.
Hey, Brett Davis, Division of Planning and Development. Good morning, everybody. I'll be presenting case PD 22-1. This is a request for a special use permit for the Memphis Blues planned development. Some general information. The owner and applicant is UMH Properties, Inc., a real estate investment trust represented today by Mr. Homer Brannon, also known as Scrappy. The area is 56 acres in the existing zoning. It's a split zone site. It's zoned manufactured home park and residential 6. So this is in Frasier on the edge of the city limits. On Danny Thomas, here's a vicinity map showing everybody that received mailed notice of last month's hearing. Here's a satellite photo of the site. That red line is the zoning boundary. So where it's zoned for a manufactured home park already, there is an existing manufactured home park, and that same site is looking to expand into the single-family residential zoning district to the southwest. The applicant requested that the entire site be included in the PD to retain a cohesive final plan with a single entry point. Here's a land use map. So on the county side across Thomas, it's some multifamily, industrial, commercial, and vacant land. And then on the Memphis side, there is a lot of single-family residential land use, as well as a church abutting the site to the south. Some photos of the site. This is existing development that is currently approved and undergoing construction. And here is a natural area to be preserved at the south of the site. Here's the outline plan. So this bold line here really separates the existing and under construction portion of the planned development and the proposed portion of the planned development. So the streets would be extended, lots would be platted under a single owner, and manufactured homes would be installed. This plan would be subject to final plan approval in terms of the exact layout of the streets and lots, etc. Over here, this natural area which a stream runs through would not be touched. And here it is in color. So the yellow is proposed. All right, here is a fencing and buffer plan the applicant submitted. They are proposing some chain link fencing, which may not be approved during the final plan review process. It's not a permitted fencing type in a class 3 buffer, which is what we are calling for. So there's a variety of fencing, and here are some cross sections showing that buffer. All right, here is a typical lot configuration as proposed by the applicant. I do want to point one thing out. As you can see, there is a parking pad that would accommodate 2 vehicles in front of the house. Our recommended conditions, which correspond to the underlying zoning, would not allow a parking pad. I think that is one of the main concerns the applicant has today. We are asking that parking be accommodated in a driveway that went up the side of the house, rather than that parking pad. So in conclusion, let's see, I'm going down to the 4th point. I'm just pointing out that although part of this PD is within the R6 district, the R6 zoning district does allow manufactured homes by right. So the housing type per se is not your consideration today. But the reduction of minimum lot size from 6,000 to 4,000 square feet, as well as the overall character and compatibility of the development, are the main considerations. We do find that the requested reduction in minimum lot size is consistent with Memphis 3.0 as well as nearby land uses. We have assented to other special requests, including an exemption from streetscaping along Thomas and the provision of only one access point, whereas the UDC would likely require at least 3. That said, staff finds that certain requests, and I'm going to highlight 2, the construction of parking pads and the use of non-masonry foundations are incompatible with the intent of the UDC. So the Unified Development Code does require that manufactured homes be skirted with a masonry foundation. And we didn't see any reason to waive that standard here. And the same goes for the parking pads. The Land Use Control Board also considered a planned development request at this site in 2013 from the same applicant and recommended approval of conditions that would require driveways up the side of the house and masonry foundations. I think that the applicant and staff are on the same page on the other conditions, but I have highlighted those 2 conditions here in dispute for your reference. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Do you have any questions of the staff at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for your presentation. For the applicant, we're ready for your presentation.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, Homer Brennan, 999 South Shady Grove. I'd like to indicate that UMH is a manufactured home park community, and they have about 120 of these around the country in 11 states. They have 7 in Tennessee and 2 in Memphis. They're very professional. They know what they're doing. I'd like to introduce Jeff York, who's one of the vice presidents of UMH. He's here from West Virginia to be with us, and I'm going to ask him to speak in rebuttal. Mike Davis and Trent Harrell are our engineers in case there's any question about it. This is our presentation. If you can see it, the existing area used to be, at the north end, used to be a RV park. Our client bought it in 1985 and changed it to a manufactured home park. And then they acquired some additional land there along the highway, I think in 2012. But this is a really, well, as you can see, our proposed has a natural area over there on the south end. That's on the other side of the creek, and is not will not be used for anything. But this is what it looks like. This is the playground and office area, and it's very well kept. And this is the existing homes there. They're very nice. This is a affordable residential area. It's for rent, and it's like $700 to $900 a month, and people really like it. We have 24-hour security, 7 days a week. He lives on the property. We have 100% occupancy and over 20 people on the waiting list trying to get in. So it's a very popular place, and the people there seem to really enjoy it and like it, with all the amenities that they've got, which is playground, as you've seen, walking trail, picnic areas, bicycle areas, a lot of common open space, and on-site maintenance of the common area, so they keep it nice and well done. Just to give you an example of some of the people that live there, we have 9 Memphis police officers. We have 4 Memphis firemen. We have 1 sheriff's deputy, 1 part-time U.S. Marshal, and 3 workers from Millington, just as an example of how attractive it is and why people want to live there. They take good care of them. We have Melissa Garrett, who is our manager. She's on the site, and she's there, and she takes care of everybody. So it's well run. This is the neighborhood, and we think this property is, this use is much better along the highway. These are along and just to the north and to the west. Automobile uses, used car lots, repair places, mini storage, those kinds of uses. We think this is a better use of this property. And there are apartments over to the east and to the northeast, apartment complexes there. But we think this is a better use of the property, and people really like it. This is as part of our security. The Memphis Blues was totally fenced for security. And we have security cameras, tall security cameras throughout Memphis Blue, which will be extended into the new area. And the security guard watches that, and in case there's any problems. We've really never had any big problems. The fencing is 8-foot coated chain link, plus on the south end, down by the church, and the homes that are down there on the other side of the buffer area, we have an 8-foot solid vinyl fence, this is what it looks like for security. So we'll take care of it. There are 2 issues, if you would allow us. The Phase 1 and Phase 2 and Phase 3, which is Memphis Blues, has vinyl skirting around the base. In other words, the home is put on there, it's put on a masonry foundation underneath, and then it is skirted around the outside with vinyl. Every park in the state of Tennessee, and as far as I know in the country, has vinyl and not masonry. Vinyl is, masonry is so expensive and hard to deal with. We think the vinyl is a better use for that. And I wanted to point out that in 2020, the Land Use Control Board with the staff approved Allentown, which is the second site that UMH has in Memphis. This is in 2020. Vinyl skirting would be allowed in Allentown. That's an expansion of Allentown, and that's what we're doing here. We're expanding Memphis Blue. And all we're trying to do is make it uniform and make it seem to be compatible. And so the vinyl skirting is a request that we're making, and we're asking you to amend C5 or whatever it is of the C4 of your conditions and adopt exactly what was approved at Allentown, which is vinyl type factories, underskirting of a type and color to match the manufactured homes, units that that are installed, and do it within 30 days. And that's what Allentown got in 2020, and that's what we're asking you to consider. But here is what, where the second issue is the parking pads. Staff has recommended driveways up the side of the home, and no other park in the state of Tennessee has got driveways up the side. They all have parking in front. This is exactly what was approved in Allentown in 2020. And there's a drawing that shows how the staff and you considered it, I guess, in 2020, and make it uniform. Allentown has had that, and the extension, which is now under construction, has got that, and we're asking in this extension of our in our project, our Memphis Blue, to approve the parking pad. Here's an example. This is what we would like, having the 2 parking pads in front, and the shaded area you see around the little walkway is the front porch. That's the porch of the building. You park there and you walk in. We think that if you require a driveway, this is probably what's going to happen. People don't want to have to get out and back a car out to let the one in the front in, and so they'll park on the street. So 1 car in the driveway and 1 car on the street, and we'd like to keep our streets open for emergency purposes and for safety purposes. So we're asking for, again, the exact same thing that Allentown's got. The language is exactly the same.
You have 30 more seconds.
30 more seconds? Yes, ma'am. Anyway, that's our case. We want to thank Brett Davis for his work. This has not been a very simple case. It's complex and it's large and there's a lot of stuff going on, but he's done a good job. We just simply disagree with him on the masonry skirting, which is very expensive and impractical to put in, and no other park in the state has got it, and we're asking for that and the parking pads in front. Okay. Be glad to answer any questions, and our engineers are here if there's any questions of them, please.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of Mr. Brandon or anyone at this time? Is there opponents? Is there any opposition here? Any opposition? Yes. Okay. She needs to fill out a card. No, she's not. It's not opposition.
Madam Chair, I believe we had, she was in opposition at the last meeting, so we have your name. If you could give your name and record address for the record, we can make sure we have that. So.
Okay. Give us your name and address.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Yes, my name is Teresa Horn. I live at 3645 Steel Street in Frasier. I could care less about what they're building. I want you to know this man has harassed me and my other half since the last meeting. We do not appreciate being forced, having a meeting forced upon us when my other half has been injured and can't walk. But we were forced to have a meeting with this man, and he made sure, and I do have it recorded, that sometimes things have to be destroyed for development to continue. Well, excuse me, endangered plants, endangered animals have a right to live on this earth. Because of this so-called wonderful development, the American snapping turtle, which is endangered, is now homeless. It did have a habitat there. Now the barn owl is threatened. There was trees where the barn owl, I know of one nest that was back there. I also know, because I used to walk this land, the nesting areas of red-tailed hawk and peregrine falcon was also destroyed. Now, according to the United States Fish and Game and Wildlife, there are supposed to be fines levied when endangered plants, endangered animals, threatened plants, threatened animals. their habitat is destroyed. They didn't do any research whatsoever. Endangered plants that are now, because of this wonderful trailer park, has been destroyed. Endangered plants can't be replaced, y'all. You can't just go buy seeds. Marsh marigold, it's gone. Horsetail spike rush was living there, it's gone. Buffalo clover was living there, it's been bulldozed. So has butternut trees, which are extremely endangered. Now, threatened plants are the blue flower coyote thistle. It's gone. There was 2 sweet bay magnolias. They're probably gone now too. And false dandelions. Those are also threatened. Now, there are separate fines that should be levied for each one of not only these plants, but the animals that are now their habitat has been destroyed. Also, this so-called nature area cannot be deemed safe unless the federal government comes in and makes it a natural area. They can say it's safe all they want to. 1, 2, 3 years down the road, what's going to keep them from going over and bulldozing all that down too? Because there's other endangered species over on that side. Now something needs to be done, because excuse me, development must not go on if there is endangered wildlife and plants in that area. Things are being destroyed left and right. And it is a floodplain. It's not Todd Creek behind the trailer park that causes it to be the floodplain. It's the Loosahatchee River, which is to the west of this. It floods backwards. So building this so-called enclosure area, it's not going to stop these trailers from floating away. That area has already flooded twice before. If anybody remembers, I believe it was like 10, 12 years ago when the Loosahatchee completely backed up, and all from the Loosahatchee all past Watkins, back to Watkins and some, was completely underwater. Now how are you going to stop that when, you know, this embankment is built behind it, when the embankment should be in front of it, and actually it should not be built in a floodplain to begin with. And I hope you understand what threatened and endangered means. And they're supposed to be, according to the federal government, there are rules and regulations. There was no test of the flora and fauna done at all. And all of this is destroyed and it's gone. There was no studies, or guess what? That area wouldn't have been built so far. Now people should be ashamed that y'all have let this happen, and it continues to happen in this city. And somebody needs to put a stop to it. No, development does not have to go on, because it's okay to just kill something that's almost on the verge of being gone from the face of this earth.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? Okay, hearing none, we do have 3 minutes for either the applicant to rebuttal, or we have a Jeff Yalrick here to speak. And you just have 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to point out that we did meet with the lady, and their property is on the other side of the railroad, on the other side of the ditch, and is about 1,000 feet or more to Memphis Blue, and about 1,042 feet to the new area. The property is not in a floodplain. It has been raised above that. Memphis Blue has, and so it's under construction. And the area that we're talking about, expansion, has never been in the floodplain. And so I'd like to ask Mr. York if he would say a few words, and then we'd appreciate your consideration. I did want to point out that we're required that the homes be vinyl or aluminum. I mean, that's condition 2C3 in your packet. The buildings have to be vinyl or aluminum. And so if the building is vinyl, why can't the skirts be vinyl? And we need the parking pads in front to keep it uniform with all other developments in the state of Tennessee. Mr. York?
Morning, Jeff Yorick with UMH Properties.
Give us your name and address.
150 Clay Street, Morgantown, West Virginia.
Okay.
UMH has been in business since 1968. We have focused on land leased mobile home parks. That is all we do. Our focus is affordable housing, not just manufactured housing. And that, I guess, brings us to our objections with the staff recommendations. The layout that we have proposed has been worked out over time with the parking in front, the home sitting behind it. It's very efficient, makes good use of the land, and allows us to spread the land development cost across more lots and keep the affordable factor. If we put the parking on the side of the home as proposed, it makes the lots wider without allowing us to make the lots any smaller. We end up spreading the same development cost over far fewer lots, and that takes us out of the affordable range for the housing. Yes, that's the biggest point.
You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds, and then I will close. I appreciate your attention. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions that anyone has of either the opponent or the applicant? Okay. Hearing none, then I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
Move approval of agenda item number 4, PD 22-01.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say, oh, I'm sorry. You have a question?
Do you want to entertain what the applicant is asking about the final screen?
Did you hear her?
Yes, ma'am. I think Ms. O'Connor was asking, do we want to entertain or discuss the applicant's request to reconsider the 2 conditions for the parking pads and the brick skirt?
Go to the staff.
Sorry, I was saying I don't have any particular problem with either request. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I'm okay with their requests.
Madam Chair, and I would just add to that, and I'd offer an amendment, a motion to amend the conditions to allow item 4, the yellow highlighted, 4 and 6, as requested. I'd offer that as a motion to amend, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing, did you have something to say? Okay. All right. Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Dr. Pritchard?
Shouldn't we have voted on the amendment?
I think it was I think we just did.
Okay.
Maybe
I would assume that's what happened.
All right. Agenda item number 5, PD 22-03CO, Rosemark, Plan Development for a General Store with Entertainment Pavilion at 9053 Barrett Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, is the applicant here? Yes, ma'am. Can you introduce yourself?
Cindy Reeves, SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for the staff report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Seth Thomas, the Memphis Shelby County Office of Planning and Development. The case before us is PD 2203. It's located at 9053 Bear Road in Rosemark within the unincorporated Shelby County. So just some general information. So like I said before, 9053 Bear Road is the address. It's in County Commission District 1. With the owner applicant J. Barrett Matthews. The representative for this case is Cindy Reeves, and the request is a plan development to allow an outdoor entertainment pavilion and expanded gravel parking for the existing Barrettville General Store. The overlaid zoning is conservation agriculture. Here's an aerial of the site. It's just a little bit north of Rosemark Academy on Barrett Road. Here's the zoning map. It's really just surrounding conservation agriculture with a Patriot Bank headquarters north of the site. And here's some site photos. This is the general store from Barrett Road facing west. This is the northernmost curb cut of the subject property and the current parking that's used for the site. Here's another view of that gravel parking lot. And this is a view of the rear gravel parking lot. This is for staff. And then here's the view of the property line between the two commercial uses. So this particular area along Barrett Road is split between the general store and then the building to the left is an office. I believe it's a law firm and an accounting firm that are located in those offices. And then here's a view of the proposed gravel parking area from the front porch of the restaurant facing east. This curb cut here, well, it's not really a curb cut since it's gravel, but this entrance here is the proposed parking lot of the general store. And here's just a zoomed in area showing, how that area sort of opens up. And then here's a view of the outdoor stage and eating area that the restaurant is currently using. And here's the outline plan as submitted by the applicant showing the outdoor music pavilion and the accessory offsite gravel parking area on the side of the street. So in conclusion, the applicant is seeking a plan development to allow this outdoor entertainment pavilion and expanded gravel parking on an adjacent parcel. So really some background in this case. This application immediately follows a Board of Adjustment approval of BOA 21-118, in which the applicant was seeking a variance from section 2.5.2 to allow the expansion of an existing restaurant. So if we go back and sort of look at the general store. So this general store has existed in some capacity since 1856. The reason that they filed a use variance to expand the restaurant, AKA the restaurant existed, this commercial space in conservation agriculture existed in legal nonconformity. However, the expansion of a legal nonconforming property takes away that legal nonconformity and has to go back and seek some sort of zoning entitlement in order to be a by right use again. The initial Board of Adjustment application was for the expansion of the restaurant, the outdoor entertainment area, and the gravel parking lot, all sort of wrapped into one. However, staff, me as the staff planner assigned to that variance case, removed the outdoor entertainment area due to a lack of undue hardship. Basically, in a conservation agriculture district, there are two types of zoning entitlements that you can seek in order to have an outdoor entertainment area, either a special use permit or a planned development. I felt that the outdoor entertainment area was not a connected use with the restaurant and therefore would need to seek some sort of higher zoning entitlement in order to be legalized, AKA go to the county commission, go to an elected legislative body and have them decide. The expanded gravel parking lot, which was wrapped into that Board of Adjustment application, was denied by the Board of Adjustment. And so the applicant is coming back before you guys and subsequently the county commission in order to get that accessory parking approved. So in staff's opinion, the approval of the plan development will not cause substantial detriment to the public good nor substantially impair the intent of the code, nor will it be injurious to the neighborhood's general welfare. So staff is recommending approval with conditions, and we can sort of go through the conditions that were sent by the applicant. Basically, it's the two sort of important things would be the hours of operation, which I think are on this page, and then also basically all of the conditions that were part of the Board of Adjustment's approval of the restaurant expansion are also located within these outline plan conditions. So if approved and platted, those conditions that were approved in the Board of Adjustment will, instead of being part of the Board of Adjustment approval, be platted into law and will govern the property through the filing of a final plat. And so that really concludes my presentation, and I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Thomas at this time? Okay, we're ready for the applicant, and you have 11 supporters, so you got 10 minutes for you and 11 supporters.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to save all of our time for rebuttal, please.
Okay. Do you think the supporters
Yes, ma'am.
want to talk at this time? The 11?
I would like to wait until the end in order to
wait. Okay. All right. We are ready for the opposition, and when you come up, please give us your name, address, and your remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Brenda Solomito Baser, Solomito Land Planning, 1779 Kirby Parkway, Memphis, Tennessee. If y'all could just wait just a minute, we're handing out, and Seth has a presentation that we would like to make. Again, thank you very much. I am here representing today a number of property owners that live on Barrett Road. First and foremost, as you can see on the first page, Mr. and Mrs. Paul Matthews, who own 71 acres that surround this site. It's important to note that at the Board of Adjustment, not only did the board reject the 100-space parking lot on the east side of Barrett Road, they also conditioned it to disallow any outdoor entertainment. So it's important to know the reason why we're here. The Board of Adjustment denied the parking lot. Outdoor entertainment was not on the table. However, the board did condition it that outdoor entertainment would not be permitted. On the second slide, you'll see a list of the property owners and where they live and own property who are opposed to the outdoor entertainment. I don't think anybody wants to stop the restaurant or the general store. We're not here to stop that from happening, but we are here to oppose the outdoor entertainment. On page 53 of your staff report, I'd like for you to note one letter of opposition that is of great importance to us. That letter is from our current president of the Memphis Chamber of Commerce and a gubernatorial appointee to the Tennessee Historical Society. That letter is from Ms. Beverly Robinson. She's very eloquent in stating why the outdoor entertainment portion of this application is not appropriate. Not only from a noise standpoint, a traffic standpoint, a public safety standpoint, and from a historical standpoint. I believe those that are in favor of this do not live on Barrett Road. They do not live in proximity to where the outdoor entertainment. You can't control the outdoor entertainment. There's not an occupancy limitation. You could have 1,000 people descend upon on a 2-lane road that has 22 feet of pavement at any given time. As being requested, it is unlimited. I want to introduce now Mr. Rick Winchester, who is also part of our team that will discuss the legal perspective. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rick Winchester, 7515 Corporate Center Drive, Germantown. A couple of months ago, the applicants were in this room before the Board of Adjustment, and they were asking for a number of things. The Board of Adjustment gave them some huge accommodations. They allowed them to use this property for a restaurant, which is not otherwise permitted in the zoning classification. They allowed them to use it for a general store, which is not allowed, a second unallowed use. However, as one of the conditions, and the first condition, they unanimously said no outdoor entertainment. And the applicants are here this morning asking you to circumvent that unanimous decision. They were right. This area does not lend itself to an outdoor entertainment and the noise that produces. The applicant talks about limitation and on the noise by limiting it to 70 decibels. Let me tell you why that makes no sense at all. Number one, how do you measure that? Are the neighbors required to come over, stand on the property line with a decibel measuring device and figure out how loud this is? How do you do that? It's not measurable. And the second problem with that is it's not enforceable. Is the sheriff going to drive up to this area to say, tone it down, boys, like Huey Lewis did in Back to the Future? It's too loud. That's not going to happen. It's not measurable and it's not enforceable. This is opposed by, I think, 7 out of 10 of the residents that actually have to deal with this noise. It's intrusive. There is no reason to allow outdoor entertainment. It's not necessary. It's intrusive. It can be and is allowed inside the building. They can have music. They just can't do it outside to the detriment and irritation of people that live nearby. Dr. Woolworth is going to talk more about sound application, but I would ask you to deny this. They've already gotten significant accommodations to do what they're doing now, and they don't need this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is David Woolworth, 356 County Road 102, Oxford, Mississippi. I'm a consultant with Roland Woolworth and Associates, and I work in acoustics, noise control, community planning. We educate city planners. We work with cities to develop legislation, and I design entertainment venues as well. I was asked to speak on behalf of the opposition. I've submitted you an affidavit which contains a good deal of information, and I hope you have the time to look at it. And I think we're very generous with the venue in terms of allowing things. But based on my experience, we find that city in planning, sound tends to go by the wayside, and sometimes mistakes are made. And then they're corrected later. And one example I might say is I just came from the city of Hutto, where the city approved and built a $10 million amphitheater and then found themselves a year later shut down. And I came to study the noise control aspects and determine how we could solve the problem. And it turns out that they can't afford to solve the problem, so they're having to rethink the issue. And they were even planning on building houses right up to it because they thought it would be a good idea. So they learned a little bit in that process, and you could see in Exhibit B of what I've submitted. I hope you'll see that there's another project that is similar to this, a wedding venue with the same, almost exact same layout, and they have complaints a half mile away. for wedding bands. So this is an issue. Now, I think one of the main issues we're dealing with here is the enforcement mechanism, and that is that we don't have a probationary period, we don't have 3 strikes, there's no fines, there's no nothing. If a violation is figured out somehow, and the only mechanism we have, which is typical for things, is you call the law enforcement if there's a complaint, and then the law enforcement has to get there. So is this a use of your law enforcement that you want? And then if things aren't satisfactory after some amount of time, this ends up in legal action, which is not good for the fabric of the community, because now people are fighting in a community. So I understand the general store already has music inside, and we say that there's no issue with that. And I believe the opposition has offered, hey, you could have, 4 shows outside a year, and they'd be satisfied with that. And I would say fewer, but that's out there. And I feel that that's more of a community solution that should be thought through. Anyway, that's most of what I have to tell you. But there's a difference between indoor and outdoor entertainment, and the impact of outdoor entertainment can be extreme on a community. And I want you to be careful on making that decision and how you go about making that decision. So,
thank you.
And again, thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I'd like to go back to the slide of Dave's credentials, if you don't mind. And the points in his affidavit that we've submitted is that this sound will be heard both inside buildings and outside buildings within up to a half a mile away. And the sound is fluid. It's not like light. You can measure light as it hits the ground, and you can measure ambient light. When you have outdoor amplified music, it goes up and down. It's controlled by the volume on the equipment and the human beings that are running the equipment and the facility for where they're playing, and no amount of real noise abatement for outdoor entertainment is going to lessen the detrimental effect on the adjacent property owners. And we said 7 out of 10 of the residents there on Barrett Road, and basically, it's my understanding the other 3 are part of the ownership group that owns the general store. So I don't think we found anybody that was neutral or someone who was not involved in the general store that was a proponent of this. Most everybody was opposed to the outdoor entertainment. They want the general store. They want the restaurant. Wish them well success. But just no outdoor entertainment. If you can imagine a rail garden being proposed here, or weddings, or anything else that descends upon this community, you could have 1,000 people here parking across the street, plus the 80-something parking spaces that are already on site. So being a 2-lane road, precarious curbs, no lighting at night. So it does get dark, 8 o'clock in the summer, 6 o'clock in the evening, and having outdoor entertainment with the sale of alcohol also is probably going to be a disaster. So we have the other folks that are here, Mr. and Mrs. Matthews are here if you would like to ask them any questions or ask us any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Have any questions, anyone of the opposition? Any questions of the opposition? Okay, we're ready for the applicant, and I think you have about 13 minutes since you didn't use your first 10.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I want to thank staff for all the help that they've given us on this project. This is not just outdoor entertainment. This is a family gathering place. This is where people go in order to visit with their family. Since the pandemic, everybody wants to be more outdoors, and we feel that it makes a big difference. Seth, can you get the video? Yeah. This is Welcome to Barrettville. This is the sign. This is the general store, which is the main attraction of downtown Barrettville. That's the employee parking, which they have 30 employees. That's the front of the, thank you. It's a very, very unique place. This is the beginning of the pavilion. I have a sample of how it's going to be enclosed on 3 sides in order to prevent the sound from going to the north or to the south, excuse me. And it's just a very, very quaint place for families to come and gather, have a good meal. And in your packet, I've given you pictures of what the feel of the store is inside, how families just enjoy visiting. Women will go there for lunch. They'll play Scrabble. They'll play all kinds of different games. They make desserts every Monday and Tuesday. They're closed and on Monday and Tuesday to do nothing but make desserts for the community. And we've got 841 signatures. I've got a petition here that is for the expansion of the kitchen and the outdoor family gathering area. So we know that there is a need for this, and this is not rail garden at all. I can guarantee you that. So I'm going to let Scott Jones take over now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Jones, resident 9215 Mulberry Road, offices Memphis at 5158 Wheelers Drive. If Mr. Thomas could get my PowerPoint, that's on his own. I'm going to take about 5 minutes of y'all's time and just hit the high points as soon as he gets us pulled up. When I was retained to assist in this matter, I was instructed by my clients, Dr. Matthews and Mr. Willardson, that this project be undertaken with the highest standards, paying especially close attention to detail, but most importantly, maintaining what I've now kind of known to come as a good neighbor mentality. Slide. To that end, on February 28th, we held our community meeting and were thrilled to have approximately 25 people attend. Chief among the concerns addressed by attendees were sound, traffic safety, potential effects, if any, on property values, and controls for enforcement of any conditions. Mr. Winchester, on behalf of his client, Paul Matthews, drafted and handed out a letter prior to the start of that meeting. With the gross mischaracterizations as to the process and false narrative aside, his letter did touch on the basic points that a lot of people at least shared in common. This application is not an attempt to circumvent a previous ruling, as Mr. Winchester stated in his handout that night. These items were part of the BOA process that Seth walked you through earlier. The parking lot was denied based upon inaccurate information that was provided to the Board of Adjustment on those days. Since then, we've had an engineer come out and examine it, and his conclusions are the following. The employee-only area, which is a condition set by the BOA, has a current capacity of 15 spots. At peak hours, this parking is insufficient for the number of employees, by anywhere from 3 to 5 spaces. The main parking lot to the north has a capacity of 22 spots. It's far less than the estimate that was put forth to the BOA, as well as less than what's recommended by the UDC on a capacity to parking space ratio.
It's heavy, really.
It's worth noting that in July of 2021, it was actually Mr. Paul Matthews who asked us to use this east parking lot to alleviate some of the conditions. He then opposed the idea, creating the very issue he's now raising. Approval of the additional eastern parking area would ensure that all the residents of the entire community's concerns about vehicles parking on the shoulders of the road, safe ingress and egress points, and so on are all resolved. Opposition cited the increased speed and traffic as a concern. Customers drawn to and bound for any of the businesses, Mr. Paul Matthews' Barrett Road property, which houses many businesses that, in his words, keep odd hours, the headquarters for Patriot Bank, or the Barrettville General Store, could be cured by working with county engineers to possibly install a pedestrian crosswalk or a similar traffic control that would work in conjunction with the community and other local businesses and authorities to do that. We're eager to do that process. There are a couple of businesses on that road that draw people in, and we're here to do our good neighbor mentality with them. Seth, if you would. As to property values, we asked Mr. Whitlock, a highly experienced and skilled realtor from the area with over 30 years of experience, to evaluate any potential property value impacts. He ultimately concluded no detrimental impact to the values. He took into consideration many factors, including avenues for resolution of issues such as environmental court, mitigation efforts for residents' concerns, and planned hours of operation, just to name a few things that he looked at. If you hadn't already, I ask you to view his report. It is thorough and pretty good, in our opinion. If you would, next slide. Regarding the sound, which seems to be the major issue, we've retained Mr. David Marsh, president of Marsh PMK International. We've included a copy of his report in a handout that I believe y'all got today. I'll let Mr. Marsh's phased plan speak for itself, but I'll highlight a few key points in the short time I have remaining. In phase one, he has examined our architect's original design, a copy of which I believe you have in your handout, and the demonstration of which is floating around somewhere. He reviewed Mr. Woolworth's report and all the supporting documents. In phase two, he'll be conducting an actual site visit. We'll survey in the near future prior to the full commission hearing to generate the full report for the plan. Now, in searching for an engineer, I discovered that Mr. Woolworth had already been retained, he informed me, by Mr. Matthews. I invited him to come to the site, told him I'd show him around, let him look at the structure, look at our plans, and he declined those offers. Once we do this phase two, when we move into phase three, we will have a venue-specific sound system in place that, according to our expert, can comply with the conditions. Slide. In closing, we would just ask this board to recommend approval of the application. This is a unique community that cares for the concerns of others. It's one of the reasons I chose to move back there when I graduated from law school. We understand there's concerns among the community based on previous opposition to a school sports complex right down the road. That opposition was also led by Mr. Paul Matthews. To date, there have been no complaints as stated in the letter that you hold from the school. The conditions are obviously working. There's zero reason to believe the same won't hold true in this situation to the other side. We ask you to use your discretion and recognize something. Slide. These two are not the same as the opposition would have you believe. We'd ask for this board's recommendation for approval. I thank you for your time, and I'd like to turn it over to one of the residents, Ms. Rebecca Jane Matthews.
I would like all the supporters to stand up, please. All the supporters stand up, please. And I'm going to have the first supporter speak.
Give us your name and address if you haven't already. I didn't hear you.
I'm Rebecca Jane Matthews. I live at 8998 Barrett Road in Barrettville, Tennessee, 38053. Good morning. I'm the oldest great-great-great-grandchild of Anthony Barrett, the founder of the original Barrettville General Store. I'm the sixth and next generation, a member of one of the oldest generational families in the area, a career teacher with the Memphis Shelby County School System, and a mother to an amazing 3-year-old. My son, James Barrett Burnett, is the 7th generation to live in our 180-year-old home place. He has and will continue to grow up in this community. Barrettville is his home. It is his roots. I know that my dad is doing everything he can to leave the family's legacy for me and my siblings. I am trying to leave that same legacy for my son. To leave that legacy, I can guarantee that the same values that my dad has exemplified in keeping a family-oriented business in Barrettville are my values as well. I would love to welcome everybody to come and experience the charm and rich history of our quaint community, which is thriving because of the Barrettville General Store.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce Carrie Vaughn now.
How many minutes we got? 2 minutes.
Carrie Vaughn, I live at 8880 North Gregg Road at the corner of Gregg and Barrett Road, which is the Star subdivision. I want to play off the term earlier that Scott said, and I really just have one point this morning as we wrap up, and that is the Barrettville store is a great neighbor. It's a great neighbor. So goes the restaurant, so goes the neighborhood. And so it's a good neighbor in the fact that it's been a great gathering place. We've talked about that. We've had everything from corporate meetings. We've had planning sessions for festivals. We've had our U.S. Senator have a fundraiser there. I can go on and on and on, but it's been the hub and nucleus of a gathering place. It's also been a working partner. And I say a good neighbor as a working partner because we're willing to jump through the hoops. We're willing to find a happy medium. We're willing to make tweaks and modifications so that it's a win-win for all parties. It's also a good neighbor in the fact that it has produced jobs. Exactly 30 jobs in the last 2 years in the midst of a pandemic. We've been able to drive workforce development in a very rural and suburban area. And that's exciting, and that's very much needed for that area. It's also a good neighbor because it provides a quality way of life. But let me just say this in closing. We can't have it both ways. We can't patronize the restaurant for lunch and dinner, which many of the neighbors do up and down Barrett Road. We can't patronize and then yet turn around and stop growth. We can't cut off revenue streams. The pavilion and the events that we're talking about provide additional revenue streams, and it allows us to drive revenue for the restaurant, for the store, and for the community. And again, we are a great neighbor, and we are a great partner. But we must look at how we elevate this to success, and I think we can do that together. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I have a question for Cindy. Cindy, what's the relationship between Paul Matthews and Barrett Matthews?
They are brothers.
And is this just an enormous family squabble?
I would say so.
Okay. And they obviously are not getting along here because one brother is opposing what the other brother is trying to do. Is that correct? Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
I have a question.
Wait.
I have a question for.
We're on the applicants now, and the opponents don't have any more time. Go ahead.
I have a question
Unless
for
there's
Cindy.
questions.
How often are they going to have music outside? Is this a daily, weekly, monthly? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? I really don't have any, I'm not familiar with this. I don't have a sense of what the impact could be on the neighborhood.
It's really not. I mean, the type of events that they have are like political fundraisers. They had a veterans rally over there. I really would like Don to answer more of the type of events that he has in mind, but people go there, they get their food, they go to the counter, they order their food, they either take it outside to the picnic table, and just their kids can run around, and whenever the weather's really good, and it's just a very, very welcoming place. It's a destination place. They have, it's where you say, okay, we're going to go to Barrettville today, and it's not just, this is not Rail Garden. This is not these huge events where you've got rock and roll bands going on. It's family oriented. Their hours of operation are Wednesday and Thursday from 11 to 8, and on Friday it's 11 to 9, and Saturday. So and then Sunday it's 11 to 2. So this is not a place like Rail Garden that's open till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So this is more of a family gathering place. It's a destination. It's where you go not to hear, a rock and roll band. It's not that. But if you'd like more information on the type of events, I can get Don to come speak to the board.
Just for an understanding, that would be great. I would like that.
Okay, Dawn.
My name is Don Willardson. I live at 7378 Kerr Rosemark Road, which is approximately about 3 miles from the store. I've lived there for almost 40 years. So it's not like I'm somebody coming in from out of town to develop a piece of property for an investment, and that this is my life. I'm here to help this community. The events that I held out there are nothing but events with veterans motorcycle groups, Memphis and Shelby County police officers that do fundraisers for kids, for the community, and their own, for their own staff. So it's not like that I'm having an event out there on a 7-day-a-week basis because I'm only open 5 days a week. The fact is that I'm trying to create a gathering place for families, for functions to happen, and people to come out there and enjoy themselves, where kids can play catch in a park, which is what this opposition does not want. And this is not right. And that's my story about it. And I'll continue with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, both sides' times are up. And so do you have any questions for the applicant or the opposition?
Ms. O'Connell, I do want to also add that, he wants to promote to be able to have weddings or receptions, birthday parties, anniversaries, all those kind of deals for families. So I just wanted to add that too.
Anybody, any questions, any more questions? Okay, hearing none, we're going to close the public portion of the meeting. Can I get a motion?
Move approval of agenda item PD 22-03CO Rosemark.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. Are we going to vote all together or one by one?
I can do a roll call if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Wilbanks?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas? Ms. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. McKenna?
Yes.
Dr. Pritchard?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Wiles Wallace?
Yes.
Chair Sharp?
Yes.
And did I miss anyone? I think so. Okay. Motion passes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Agenda item number 6, S22-05, Frasier, 10-lot residential subdivision at 2717 Mountain Terrace Street. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, is the applicant here? Okay, would you come up and give us your name and address, please? And then we'll hear from the staff, and then we'll hear from you and the opposition if there's any. Give us your name and address.
6.
Good morning. My name is Irby Price. I reside at 2729 East Skyline Circle, about 2 blocks from the property in question.
Okay, thank you. We're ready for the staff report. Mr. Skinner?
Yes. Hi, Lucas Skinner again with Division of Planning and Development. I'll briefly go through this. Again, the case is S2022-005, 10-lot subdivision near 2717 Mountain Terrace. Here's an aerial to show you where this is. It's essentially just northwest of the intersection of James Road and Mountain Terrace, behind a few of the homes that are existing there along both James Road and Mountain Terrace. Zoning and land use, it's split zone site, RU1 on the southern portion, R10 on the northern portion. Those zoning districts do have very similar bulk regulations. Essentially very residential area surrounding the site. A few site photos. These are both right sort of at James Road and the intersection, just to show what the existing houses look like there. These are two photos showing sort of the entrance to the site. You can see that it sort of had begun to be built. We will get into that in just a second. So this is the previously approved subdivision plat, has been marked on slightly, but this case was approved in 2005 for 2 phases, an A and a B. And where that got us today is those 3 homes in the yellow on the right. Lots 1, 2, and 3 are currently built from that subdivision. They came back for a time extension and also then subsequently phased into a 3rd phase. So let's say phase 1 or A was fine, 3 homes were built. So then B and C, the middle one, B being what we're hearing today. C was the 3rd, that left section of yellow. That has previously, or I guess since, actually been sold off. So we're really just looking at that middle portion today. And with that, since the time extension was granted way back in 2008, it's obviously been about 14 years, so it was expired, which is why we are here today. So the applicant essentially was trying to sort of use this very same preliminary plan, again, for this middle section. So it'd be 10 lots. So again, I can go back through the history if anyone has any questions, but essentially the subdivision that we're seeing today was expired, so this would be new. Again, it's 10 lots. The staff really would just like to point out that we don't have a problem with the lot being subdivided. I think currently just the layout, the way the roads are set up from the previous subdivision just don't currently really work with the current UDC. So to that point, the proposal is consistent with Memphis 3.0. However, staff is recommending rejection. If approved, there are 6 conditions that we would like to be approved as part of that plan. Otherwise, I'm done with my presentation and available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of the staff? Mr. Skinner? Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we will introduce the applicant. By the way, is there any opposition here today? Any opposition? Okay. We're ready for you.
For the sake of time, if the board approves, I have no problems with the recommendations from the staff.
Okay, you're gonna present your case? Present why you disagree with them?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Did you say you disagree?
Well, so I'm looking at the recommendations, and the staff recommend if approved, these are the recommendations. I said for the sake of time, I have no problem if the board approved with the recommendation the staff suggests.
Do you want to say anything though, like if it doesn't get approved, do you want to say anything to the board?
If it does not get approved?
Right, yeah, if you just want to address the board about anything else.
You want to address us about anything regarding your case?
I guess I don't understand why it was previously approved that this wouldn't have been grandfathered. I apologize for the engineer not to be here. He is since deceased. If there is another division, another project on Mountain Terrace that's similar to this, that's finished, and it has been nothing but an attribute to the community. So I really don't understand why honestly, why I have to seek approval for something that's already been seen.
Well, at this point, that expired, and we're here again. So they chose to reject it. Under the circumstances.
Yeah, I understand how the codes, how things change, and this probably was good for that time. But again, like I said, for the sake of time, I'm saying that if you all approve it, I have no problem with the recommendation the staff is recommending.
Okay, do you have any questions of the applicant? Anybody?
I have a question for you. Mr. Skinner, if we approve this, do you think you two could work it out where it would meet all of your conditions?
Absolutely. There could be a world where that could happen. I just think, yes. The drawing just really needs to be this is literally from 2005, so it's been 17 years. So there's not like rear setback shown. I mean, the code, UDC was not even, established at the time. So there are just some things that would need to be changed. I mean, we might want to maybe just have a site plan another preliminary plan that comes back if you would like that. But yes, it could work out.
Okay,
But
is it better for us to approve it with these conditions or to him just to, I can't think of the right word, just.
Reject it and have it.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm in that different world you were talking about.
we could hold if you have time to work on some of this. We could hold it if you wanted.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I move that we hold this item for 1 month in order that the applicant and staff could work out differences.
Okay, thank you. Any second? We have a second. Is there any discussion on the hold? Any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor of the hold, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. You have a month to get together.
Now, I believe that we're down to agenda item number 8. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Agenda item 8, MJR 22-12, correspondence to PD 17-06, Southeast Memphis, major modification to allow an outdoor recreation, golf entertainment center, and motor vehicle service at the southeast corner of South Germantown Road and Callus Cutoff Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, are you present, and can you give us your name and title and address?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. Josh Whitehead, Bridgeport and Johnson, 130 North Court.
Thank you. Is there any opposition here? Okay, let's go on with the staff presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeffrey Penzis, Division of Planning and Development. So this is a request for a major modification to allow an outdoor recreation golf entertainment center and motor vehicle service. This is located in the southeast Memphis neighborhood, and 15 public notices were mailed on April 1st, 2022, and 3 signs were posted at the property. So the site is currently zoned as part of PD 17-06 Area C, which as currently allows any uses permitted by right, administrative site plan approval, or special use permit within the CP district, which is the CMU2 district in the UDC, and the Office General district with specific prohibited uses. The existing zone or the existing land uses are a mixture of commercial and vacant land. And then to the north, there's some single family and multifamily developments. So this is the proposed site plan. Here we can see this would be the golf and entertainment facility. And then these are the 2 in parcels, but out parcels as they're not part of the golf and entertainment facility. These are just some elevations. So this request meets the criteria with Memphis 3.0 as the golf entertainment center and motor vehicle service are compatible with similar uses already permitted within the Polo Grounds North Plan development. And furthermore, the applicant is surrendering higher intensity uses as part of this modification. So in conclusion, really the main conclusion is that I think we have still a disagreement with the applicant on is the sign that they want. They had originally requested to allow a detached pole sign of 100 feet in height and 900 square feet in area. And there were times where we had discussed, there was a time down to 90 feet in height and 500 square feet in area. However, the existing outline plan conditions do not allow pole signs, and staff does not feel that a sign of such size and height is appropriate, considering this site does not actually front the Tennessee State Route 385. And I would just like to point out the CarMax, which does have frontage along the Tennessee State Route, they did agree to a 100 square foot sign and to keep of a monument sign style. And with that, staff feels that the proposed development will not unduly injure or damage the use, value, and enjoyment of surrounding property, nor unduly hinder or prevent the development of surrounding property in accordance with the current current development policies and the plans of the city and county. And with that, we recommend approval with outline plan conditions, which can be found on pages 21 to 32 of the staff report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the staff? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the applicant, Mr. Whitehead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, again. We are very excited to be introducing some development in an area of the city and an area of Polo Grounds North that has kind of been leapfrogged over the years. Polo Grounds North was approved by the City Council back in 2000, and we are adhering to most of the conditions, not all, and that's probably going to be the meat of our discussion. There's a memo, I believe, that Mr. Penzis is imminently going to be passing out that I'd like to focus our attention on. I'd like to first of all thank staff. This plan development, although it was approved in 2000, it's been amended a few times with various additional conditions approved by both the City Council and this body since that time. Mr. Penzis did the yeoman's work of mushing them all together in a cohesive manner, and we're greatly appreciative of that. So this memo has 5 last conditions of approval that we would like to request that don't match those found in the staff report. The first 3, I'm pleased to say, that deal with road improvements. Mr. Penzis and I, moments ago, have come to an agreement on those, and so the first 3, I believe, are friendly amendments. So I'll go ahead and skip those and go straight to the building and sign-related conditions. So the 4th condition, as listed, condition 4E1, deals with our pylon sign. It is true we do not front along an expressway. The expressway here is Tennessee 385 Bill Morris Parkway. But we feel that we are bringing a regional draw, not only a business that is not in Memphis at this time, but a use type that is not in Memphis at this time. We believe that we will be drawing from multiple counties in the metropolitan region. That, combined with the fact that 385 super elevates or banks inward at this location, warrants our request on the sign. And the 5th condition, which is listed as condition 7A, this deals with building materials. We believe that our use, a golf and entertainment facility, is so unique that the originally approved building materials, stucco, glass, brick, and other masonry, is just not applicable to this kind of use. With that, Madam Chair, I am pleased to introduce the Director of Real Estate for Topgolf, Todd Waldo, who will not only discuss those last 2 conditions, but also the project overall.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Todd Waldo, Topgolf, 8750 North Central Expressway, Dallas, Texas. We are pleased to be here before you today, seeking your support. We've been looking a long time to bring Topgolf to the city of Memphis and the greater area, Shelby County. And we feel that we have a very good solution here to achieve that. We've got a short presentation to make, but for those that may be unfamiliar with Topgolf, we are an industry leader in the golf entertainment business with a best-in-class business operation. We have over 75 venues worldwide, We're continuing on a growth pattern to add 10 venues per year. Currently we have 2 locations in the state of Tennessee, one in Nashville and one in Chattanooga, one under construction currently in Knoxville. And we are hoping to bring a brand new state-of-the-art Topgolf to the city of Memphis. This is after years of collaboration to come up with a new design that is family-friendly with a lot of enhancements to the guest experience. There are a few comments that we'd like to address directly, and we do appreciate the collaboration with staff. A lot of the documents that have been submitted, I don't think, do the building justice, so we actually have some photos to share with you of a like building. We have 5 of these types of venues currently in operation across the United States, and we'll be sharing with you some photos from those which are identical to what we're proposing here in Memphis. But just for a high-level overview, I think everybody's familiar with the location, but as Mr. Whitehead mentioned, this will be a regional entertainment destination for the greater Memphis area. It's going to create tax base and jobs on a vacant, undeveloped property. We're expecting to create just 300 jobs alone associated with Topgolf. That does not include what may be part of the future use with the out parcels. And we're estimating up to $1 million in annual tax revenues associated with this development. So I think it's going to be a great addition to the community. We feel that this is a site with great regionality within the greater Memphis area. It's got great connectivity to 385 and 240. It's within an established retail hub with Costco and Lowe's and Walmart, so it's already somewhat of a regional destination for folks in the suburbs and the general area in greater Memphis. I would like to share, if we could go to the next slide, please. So this is a photo of a venue that we opened back in 2020 in Rogers, Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas. And this is essentially a 2-story building with 72 golf hitting bays, all state-of-the-art technology associated with this. As I mentioned, more family-friendly. We're planning on introducing mini golf and some outdoor seating and patio space in our outdoor patio and rooftop terrace. Very engaging, but it is a very contemporary look. And what I'd like to stress, the importance of this is this more than likely will be the only venue that we will bring to Memphis. And unlike traditional retailers such as Kroger or Home Depot or others of the sort, where they have multiple units within a market, this most likely would be the only one. So having our brand awareness and brand identity, which is not only part of our signage, but part of our building design and concept, is extremely important for us to, again, bring brand awareness to a brand new market. Next slide. This is another photo of daytime, again, just showing the mixture of building materials associated here. We have a very contemporary design, as I mentioned before, with a lot of metal, a lot of ephes, some engineered paneling as well, but altogether produces a very nice composition that is both modern and appealing, and lots of glass associated with this as well, so that we can bring the energy from inside the building to be more visible from the outside. If we go to the next slide. This is a view of the outdoor patio, again, just showing the dynamics of the indoor and outdoor space. Gives you a feel for some of the materials that are being used as well. Again, very contemporary type of design. We're not just talking about a full EFS building, but this is a very unique building type and structure that is, again, less than, not a traditional type of building that you would see in a standard retail center, but this is showing our outdoor patio and our rooftop terrace. But if we can go to the next slide. This is a view of the outdoor patio from the single level. Again, just shows you some of the exterior building materials, some of the glass, some of the roll-up doors, things that we just have incorporated to make it more inviting to our guests. This is a view of the rooftop terrace. Again, this is an extension of the restaurant and bar area, and also the golf hitting bays. Very nice area for a dinner or a lunch or whatever it may be to enjoy with family and friends, but it gives you, again, another view of the high quality building materials and the mixture of those materials as well. I'm just going to share with you a few photos of the interior of the building. And again, this is an apples to apples comparison of what we're proposing to bring to Memphis. High quality design, with a lot of unique features. This is our lobby and retail area with a view directly into the driving range component. We go to the next slide. This is a view of the two-story restaurant bar and video wall. We have quite a few guests that come to Topgolf and they don't even touch a golf club. They come in there for lunch or dinner with family and friends, watch a ball game, whatever it may be. I know that the Grizzlies have got a great team this year, and this would be a great spot for everyone to watch that team perform. But just a great energy, and again, just an example of just the high quality interior finishes and spaces within the building itself. We also have an event space associated with this building. We have had everything from weddings to bar mitzvahs happen at Topgolf. You name it, it's happened there. And this would be about a 1,500 square foot event space that would accommodate 50 to 100 guests that has an opportunity to expand into the hitting bay. We have quite a number of corporate events that take place at Topgolf. Some of those are just within this event space, and some are full venue buyouts where a corporation would rent out the entire venue for the day for an employee function. This is just an example of the hitting bay itself. It can accommodate about 6 to 8 guests. For this particular venue, we're proposing 72 golf hitting bays. We have all the equipment. All you need to do is show up and have a good time. The golf clubs are there, all the golf balls within the dispensers, and all the high-tech feel for the experience to just provide a more enjoyable experience for the guests. This is a view looking out into our outfield where we have in-ground targets, and those are all high-tech electronic targets that will register your ball for game playing opportunities. But this is really just trying to break down the barriers of golf and make it more inclusive for everyone. Again, with having the equipment and all of this available, it's been extremely popular across the country. Just another view just showing, again, the correlation between the tee line, which is where the hitting bays are, and the outfield, and some of the interior finishes associated with the hitting bay itself. As I mentioned, this will have the latest and greatest technology with top tracer technology and other high-tech components to just make it more immersive experience for our guests. So the photos that we shared previously were really addressing staff comments regarding the exterior building materials. Another item that we've been communicating back and forth on is the pylon signage that's proposed. What we're proposing here was for a multi-tenant sign. Again, brand awareness is extremely important to us, given the fact that this more than likely, again, will be the only venue in the market. And we're proposing something of this significance because of the location as it relates to Highway 385. The elevation of 385 is about 30 to 40 feet above our property. So having a monument sign or something of that sort just would not be visible at all. You would get a glimpse of it as you're traveling eastbound on 385. And unlike CarMax, which is pretty much at the same elevation as the 385 roadway, we're just not afforded that visibility corridor because of the banking of 385 and just the elevation difference between the two. If we can go to the next slide, this is an actual rendering.
Okay, you got about 30 seconds.
This is an actual rendering showing the proposed height and location and the visibility from 385. We have gone back and forth with staff, and I'm willing to, what this illustrates is a 100-foot sign at about 900 square feet. I'm willing to take that down to 90 feet and 600 square feet as a compromise. But as you can see here, visibility from 385 would be compromised if we go any shorter or make the sign any smaller. So hopeful for your support today and be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. You have any questions for the applicant?
I'd like to make a comment. You know, this is a long time coming. I remember when Memphis' own Ken May was the CEO of Topgolf for a while, and it was discussed back then, several years ago, of bringing Topgolf. They were trying to look downtown at that time. So I'm a golfer, and this is a wonderful thing for Memphis, and I would urge support of this. I stand in support, and I understand the signage request as well. I mean, I was at the Topgolf down in Huntsville, Alabama recently. I mean, this is a great facility to have in your city, and I've been wanting us to have this. It's everywhere else in Tennessee and all the major parts, and this is the best part of the state, so we need to have this here, and I urge support. We have to do this. This is great for the community, and he's right. People who don't play golf still utilize Topgolf, so I ask everyone to support this project.
Even the people that are bad at golf.
That's right.
But my only question, seriously, what took you guys so long?
Well, we want to make sure we have the right location. We want this to be successful for many years. So sometimes it just takes a while for things to come into fruition. So we're hopeful with your support. We still have a little bit of heavy lifting to do, but we're hopeful for your support that we reach a major milestone today and can advance with the project.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Motion.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Whitehead.
Madam Chair, thank you for recognizing me. Mr. Penzis just notified me that the second sentence of our request on item number 4, which dealt with the sign, that can be eliminated because it's repeated in a different paragraph. So that's the sentence that begins, the parcel containing an outdoor recreation center. That can be struck.
Okay.
What page is that, Mr.
That's on, in the staff report, that's on page 28, but it's on the back side of my one-page memo.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Josh, I'm okay with all of Josh's conditions. I would assume that most of y'all are. The head of real estate suggested the sign should be 1,000, it'd be 1,000 square feet and 100 feet high instead of 90 and 900. Do you have a preference over this? Bigger's better, I assume.
We're willing, this 90 feet in height and 900 square feet is what we would like, but if there's concerns by the body, we were willing, as he just articulated, to go down to 600.
Yeah, no, I think we can I certainly would like to support the larger sign. I understand the need for it.
Oh, you say you would like to support
the larger sign and support all of Josh's conditions. I just thought he had mentioned something even bigger than.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting if there's not any other questions. And is this going to be as amended with the conditions?
Yes.
Okay, well, go ahead and make the motion.
Move approval of agenda item number 8, MJR 22-12 is amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 9, MJR 22-13, correspondence to PD 82-032, Buckingham Farms major modification to change the approved uses from office general to commercial mixed use. That's 3 CMU 3. For the purpose of erecting an off-premise sign. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, is the applicant here? Would you introduce yourself, name and address, and then we'll hear from the staff. And is there any opposition? Applicant here, would you come and introduce yourself, please?
Good morning. My name is Brentus Mitchell, 3774 Conrail Circle. MIM LLC is the company name.
Okay, thank you. We'll have staff make the presentation first.
Good afternoon, Seth Thomas, Office of Planning and Development. Case for us is MJR 22013. So this is in the Gurley Winchester Road PD on the south side of 385 and on the north side of Riverbend Road and east of Riverdale Road. The existing zoning is the approved conditions of the Gurley Winchester Road PD. Here's the location, and here's the aerial of the site in particular. Of note, the curb cut that sort of appears in the middle here, this particular MJR where the sign is proposed is to the west side of this long, kind of skinny lot. So here's the plan development map. This is kind of a very interesting sort of hodgepodge of PDs. So this sort of skinny site that we're talking about is actually within two PDs, the Gurley Development Center and the Gurley Winchester Road Development. So the proposed sign, I suppose if this is approved, will be, like I said, on the westernmost side of this property. Here's a land use map, really just the interstate surrounded by commercial uses. Here's a couple of site photos of the Riverdale Bend. Here's the outline plan of the Gurley Development Center. This highlighted area is sort of the estimated shape of the lot as it exists now. As you can see, obviously this PD is rather old and not really up to current standards in terms of what we would record. Here's a plot plan of where the proposed billboard is going to sit on this lot. And here's an example of the sign. So this currently is not in conformance with the Memphis 3.0 plan. It is not consistent with the future land use planning map. And, really, so the major modification is being done to change the outline plan conditions from office general to commercial mixed use 3 for the purpose of erecting an off-premise sign, aka a billboard. An important note here is Tennessee State Route 385 is not a U.S. interstate highway, and it's a state route of Tennessee. So the applicant's intention to use this site for an off-premise sign will not be permitted under the Unified Development Code, as this off-premise sign is not located within 300 feet of the U.S. interstate highway. This, of course, part of the Unified Development Code about interstate highways and billboards locations to them are sort of co-opted from the Highway Beautification Act of 1965 by First Lady Bird Johnson, who was sort of an advocate for beautifying nation cities and highways. Staff is not in support of the proposed outline plan changes, regardless of the off-premise signs use, due to the intensification of permitted uses in said district as compared to what was allowed in the more restrictive plan development general plan that the site currently sits under. But more importantly, changing of the outline plan conditions for allowing this off-premise sign will still not satisfy the state of Tennessee's requirements for billboards, as the state of Tennessee does not recognize plan developments as a zone, right? So if, in order to get state licensure for a billboard, the zoning that's overlaid on the site that the billboard is being built on has to be the zoning district, not in relation to the plan development outline plan conditions, but in the base zoning. So the base zoning of this site isn't changing, just the outline plan conditions in general. So even if this is changed, it doesn't really do anything. So basically, staff is recommending rejection. However, if approved, we recommend the following revisions to the outline plan, which would be changing from office general to commercial mixed use 3. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, we're ready for the applicant. You give us your name. Well, you already did that. Give us your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Appreciate your time today. So yes, we are here to ask for permission to change the uses of this site from OG to CMU 3. Next slide, please, Seth. Yes. So as you already know, that's the site outline adjacent to 385 in the yellow star. It is right now, some people may call it a remnant piece of property. not buildable for a lot of different things. We do want to get it to good use, though. We do have some use that we can make out of it. Next slide, please. This is pulled from the staff report. Subject property is in yellow, and everything else, that purple, bluish color, is in the immediate vicinity of the property. Just want to make a note that everything in that area is either vacant land or already commercial use land. There is no residential uses anywhere in that vicinity. Next slide, please. Site map, just showing the property outline of where that site is at. Next slide, please. Want to show that it is already a 150-foot cell phone tower to the west of this property, adjacent to 385. Very visible to this property and to 385. That's already approved and been there for quite some time. Next slide. That's an aerial view of the property also. So that's the cell phone tower with the red star, and the adjacent property that we're speaking upon is the yellow star. Next slide. Want to show that there is consistent illegal dumping and blight on this property. Every week, there's blight and dumping here. So that's a very recent pictures of a lot of used tires, which I'm sure everybody knows in the city, if you have any care and concern, that is an ongoing issue for Memphis, blight and illegal dumping. So when we acquired this property, we wanted to make sure, we don't just invest in something that just have vacant land. And this problem consists to happen with the blight and the illegal dumping. So we want to put it to good use. We want to put it back on the tax roll and eliminate this by building something on this site. Next slide. That's that blight and those tires. So if you're driving west on 385, it's visible. So residents can see this, see what their city look like at any given time. Visitors to Memphis riding down 385 can see all these tires and stuff dumping, because this is vacant land right now. Since we don't have the permission to build on it yet, this is what people see. So we want to turn it around and make good use of this property and stop the blight, stop the dumping from going on. Next slide. Staff mentions 3.0, Memphis 3.0 a lot in this staff report. And I pulled this from Memphis 3.0 web's page. That's the hyperlink up there in the top right corner. It says on Memphis 3.0, a couple of things I want to highlight. It says Memphis 3.0 encourages development around neighborhood anchors, locations chosen by residents that can become catalytic drivers of further investment in the neighborhood. We want to create high standards for design, preserve the character of the neighborhood, reduce blight and vacancy of the land, and promote mixed income. So Memphis 3.0 says you want to reduce blight and vacancy. I just showed you blight and vacancy. I want to reduce blight and vacancy. You want to set high standard. The designs and structure we have in mind is of a very high standard that's never been done in Memphis. We don't want to do something that's been done before and it looks all the same. Next slide, please. A couple of things about the future that we have for this piece of property. There have been 12 new businesses within 2,000 feet since January of 2022. They need advertising services. We made a public notice, and there was a hearing that we're at right now, and we put a sign in the ground to let the neighborhood know what we have in mind for this site. The staff report said there were no letters of objections to this case. That's Memphis 3.0 saying the residents choose what they want in the neighborhood. No resident has opposed what we presented for this case. Again, Memphis 3.0 says you want to develop property and eliminate blight and vacancy. That's what we want to do. Eliminate the blight and vacancy of the land. Memphis 3.0 says you want to encourage development around the neighborhood anchors. That's what we're trying to do, develop the land around the acres. There's a Home Depot about 1,500 feet from this property. That's an anchor to this neighborhood. They need advertising services. The other side of this property has, wasn't ready for that, but it's okay. The other side of this property has some potential use that we have. I do want you to go back to that slide though, please. Yes, the other side of the property has some potential use to where we can develop an EV car charging station. They're known right now as charging pads because they're smaller in nature, but we want to create an EV car charging station on the other side of the site in the future, which is going to connect these passengers, or these drivers that are coming down 385, that's going to I-69, and also to the neighborhood stakeholders, that when they get their EV car, that's going to, eliminate a lot of gas guzzling cars around here in the next future. They can come over to the site and charge their car. That's part of the Memphis 3.0. Okay, the next slide, please. That is a picture of an existing structure about 2,000 feet from our proposed location. It's been there for about 2 years now, I believe. No complaints so far. We want to eliminate blight and do something with this vacant land. That's our intention, that's our goal. We appreciate your vote of approval.
Is that it? That's okay, thank you. Let's see, do we have any questions? Any questions of the applicant at this time?
I'll make a comment. I want to thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for your proposed project and caring about this area and assisting us with blight. So I'll be supporting your project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I do have a question. I've got a question on the car charging. Did you look at and by the way, this is a tough piece of property, and I get trying to remove the blight and the vacancy. I appreciate that. Did you look at an EV car charging station on this site?
This particular property has 2 developments to it. So we're right now focused on the west side of it. There's the east side of it also, which is where we're going to put the EV side of it, the EV charging station.
Did you ever test fit an EV station on this site?
Not on this site, not on the one we're speaking of right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we're going to close the public portion of this meeting. There's no opposition, right? Okay, we're going to close the public portion. We need a motion.
Move approval of agenda item number 9, MJR 22-13.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. We have a motion. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion fails. Sorry.
Agenda item number 10, MJR 22-14, correspondence to PD 06-368, Central Memphis, semi-attached single-family residential development at 2397, 2405, 2415, and 1419 Union Avenue and 111 Roberta Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Thank you. Okay, is the applicant present? If so, come up and introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning. Mark Gramberg's Inspired Group, 233 South Belvedere Boulevard.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? Okay, go ahead, staff.
Yes, ma'am. Brett Davis again, Division of Planning and Development. This is case MJR 22-14, a correspondence to PD 06-368, which is the Memphis Theological Seminary Plan Development. This would be phase 2 of that plan development. I believe there are 2 conditions recommended by staff that are being disputed by the applicant. So I'll give a brief overview of the case and then highlight those 2 conditions. So the owner of these 5 parcels is the Memphis Theological Seminary of the Cumberland Presbyterian Church, the applicant Inspired Group represented by Mr. Grambergs. The request is to allow 10 lots, each with 1 household on it. There would be 5 duplexes on 10 lots. To achieve this, there are 2 changes needed to the outline plan. Number 1, to update the conceptual site plan, which currently shows a chapel. And number 2, to reduce certain setbacks. The total area is 1.3 acres. So this is in central Memphis, just east of Midtown on Union Avenue. I'm going to show you the current outline plan, which was approved in 2006, recorded in 2008. It came before this body again in 2018 and was re-recorded in 2018 to update setbacks and maximum height standards related to phase 2 when the chapel was still being pursued by the seminary. So this was approved as a master plan for the seminary's campus, which is of course at that corner with East Parkway. Today, the seminary no longer intends to develop and expand into the east, and it is now attempting to sell this land. So that phase 1 on the west is the only part of this PD that has a recorded final plan. Here is the approved conceptual site plan as modified in 2018. So on the west, we see the existing seminary's office spaces and buildings. In the middle, none of that has been developed. And then to the northeast, we see phase 2, and we see that proposed chapel. That is the part of the site we'll be looking at today. To the south, where it says future phase, to the south of phase 2, there are existing 1-lot duplexes, which are in the plan development, but were developed prior to approval of the plan development and are not within a final plan. So the PD does not apply to those units until a redevelopment were to occur that would require final plan review. Here's that conceptual landscape plan and conditions. So here's the satellite photo with zoning. We see the site is currently vacant. It once housed duplexes housing. That purple down East Parkway is a residential corridor, so residential use is only allowed along East Parkway. All right, and then to the south, outside of the PD, is RU1 or duplex zoning, and to the east, apartment zoning. And we see that matched on the land use map. So along East Parkway, single-family residential with the seminary in pink for office. There's a church to the north in blue with single-family detached lots to the northeast. Those are duplexes to the south, which show as multifamily on the assessor's website, although the zoning code would consider them a form of single-family housing. And to the east, the Georgian Woods apartment complex. Some photos of the site. This is Union Avenue looking west. Here we are looking east down Union. These trees were associated with the former residential development that once existed on site. Here's a view from St. Agnes looking towards Union, and a view of that southernmost portion of the subject site. That's from St. Agnes and Roberta. And here's a view down Roberta. So the subject site is that vacant land on your right, and then neighboring houses that are within the PD but not a final plan. All right, here's the conceptual site plan. It has been updated since the one included in your staff report. The changes are slight. The houses' footprints extend closer to the alley, and we have agreed to a friendly amendment, which we'll get to the outline plan conditions to accommodate that expansion of the buildable area. So the 5 underlying parcels still remain in their basic shape. They would each be subdivided, of course. The use is permitted under the outline plan conditions, but the setbacks are being reduced from 23 feet to 20 on Union, and from somewhere in the 50s feet to 10 feet on St. Agnes to the east to accommodate the conceptual plan. So in conclusion, the conceptual site plan, and this is on the 3rd bullet, currently envisions a chapel associated with the seminary at the site, but the seminary now intends to sell this land. Those setbacks would be reduced on Union from 23 to 20 feet and on St. Agnes from 58 feet to 10. And we do find that this request complies with the legislative intent of the plan development's approval, with the Unified Development Code, and with Memphis 3.0. Our recommendation is approval of revisions to the conceptual site plan and conditions subject to one site condition. I'd like to read into the record 2 friendly amendments that the applicant and staff have agreed to. The first is that setback to accommodate the expansion of footprints I just showed you. That's condition 2A4, scratch 22 feet for the private drive setback and replace it with 5. We're going to scratch our recommended addition to outline plan condition 4F, healthy trees with a greater circumference than 100 inches as measured from 4.5 feet above the ground may not be removed, and replace it with the language here, which would require a payment to the tree bank of $2,000 per tree for such trees if they are removed. Our 2 disputed conditions, one is a site condition, so this is outside of the outline plan conditions. Kimley Horn reached out to staff. They are working with the Memphis Area Transit Authority to plan a bus rapid transit corridor down Poplar and Union from downtown to the University of Memphis, and a planned station would be located on phase 1 of this planned development land that is owned by the seminaries, which is the owner of this current land. And they requested that although the station itself will be wholly on right-of-way, to dedicate a maintenance easement that would have an area of about 1,200 square feet, wider than deeper, on that seminary campus. Nothing would be constructed there. So we are recommending that that easement be required as a part of this approval to ensure cooperation between city agencies. Finally, outline plan condition 3K in gray here is the existing outline plan condition. Provide internal circulation between adjacent phases, lots, and sections. Common ingress/egress easements shall be shown on the final plats. And we recommended the following addition to sort of specify how staff would like to interpret that condition. Phase 2's proposed alley shall be made available to future phases to the alley's south. Such future phases may be encouraged or required to utilize this rear access. So again, this would be a fully rear-loaded development with a private alley proposed to have a gate. And this condition would require that if that land in a future phase of this PD to the south of the alley were ever developed, that they would also be able to utilize that private alley to ensure rational future development. All right, and here finally is just an engineering drawing of that station, the changes to the roadway, replacing asphalt with concrete, and the maintenance easement proposed by Kimley Horn, which is this rectangle here, 10 feet by 120 feet. The development is to the east over here. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Have any questions of Mr. Davis? Okay, we're ready for the applicant.
Great, thank you very much. Brett's done a great work in trying to blend what used to be the chapel and adjacent building and parking into what we're looking at here. And he works diligently into the evening because we were talking about 8 o'clock last night, so I want to commend him for that. Two things that he did identify that we have some requests for deletion on our conditions are related to two things that we don't really know apply to us and our development, the 10-unit development per se. The first one, of course, being the easement area around the transit stop. I have a representative here from Connor Walker who works with the Memphis Theological Seminary. He's with Commercial Advisors representing them. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's really not an objection to the concept of working with the city and the irrigation in the transportation corridor here for that transit stop. It's just that the seminary did not know about this until Friday when the staff report came out. They're completely unavailable this week, as you can imagine, with the holidays and things coming up. And they just really want to understand what the easement is for, what the actual transit stop will look like, what the dimensions are, and so on. We did get some information just this morning from Kimley Horn with regard to some of that. So really what we're asking for is that the condition not apply to impact our development per se, but rather let the seminary and the city and MATA work this all out. It could be perfectly fine, but we just don't want that a condition to our development in case this takes a while for them to figure out. I understand that this transportation corridor and these stops will occur sometime between now and 2026, so I don't think there's a time issue. But anyway, we respectfully request that if we could have that deleted from our conditions and let the seminary and MATA work it out themselves, that would be great for us. On the second item, the access that, could we go back to the site plan so you can show? The access for, and at this particular aerial, there are 3 houses that are down below our site. The 20-foot private access is really meant to reflect this is going to be an upscale type community. The gate that you see on the far right will be one that would be accessed via private code or some type of a key fob. But the idea is that the entire community would be fenced in, either on the front with wrought iron gates, around the sides and the back by some other type of fencing. But the idea is to try to create a safe and enclosed environment. We don't really know what's going to happen 5 or 6 years down the road with development down to the south of us. Those 3 units may be scraped and something else goes in. We don't know. But we would like to request that this condition be deleted because as we don't know what's going to be there, we don't know what we're granting access to years down the road in the future. We think this is going to be a homeowners association issue at some point. If somebody decides on those units down below us to the south that they want to create an opening in the gate and a ramp up to the private driveway and to use our driveway. I don't know how we'd work with access, the security gate codes, all those types of things. The other thing as a practical matter is just that those 3 lots that are down below us are literally down below us. There is a retaining wall that runs east-west along the south property line there, where the gate is, where you enter, and along all the way to the far west side of the site. There's a difference in slope there. On the right-hand side, there's a retaining wall that's in existence, has been there for years apparently. It's about 4 feet deep, and consequently, you would have to build ramps up to get to the private access roadway, and we think that's impractical and obviously would be an issue for our homeowners who are buying their homes thinking that they've got a private access for them only, those 10 units only at the property line. So again, it's a respectful request that that condition be deleted just because we don't know what's going to happen in the future there and don't want to subject those homeowners to the unknown. And we think that we're going to have to disclose all that in homeowners agreements and title documents and other stuff. And I think that we're walking into a situation where there might be difficulties in the future.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Staff, are you amenable to his recommendations or their recommendations?
No, ma'am. We are sticking with our recommended conditions and our recommendation to you.
Sir? Okay, any questions? Okay, here.
I have
Go
questions
ahead.
for staff. While I can understand the applicant's concern about, sometime in the future having to grant access to their property by these other houses. So I can understand that, and I would want to know why staff feels that that's an important consideration. And I also don't fully understand the issue with the transportation and MATA, and I'm not really understanding that whole thing.
Yes, ma'am. So this alley would be a form of private right-of-way. If you imagine alleys all throughout the city, they're built to accommodate access on both sides. So to deny access to a future phase of the same planned development when we have conditions requiring shared access would potentially result in waste of space, inefficient access to lots from a public planning perspective. So we would address this sort of shared access as it comes, as development comes. So with the construction of this alley, we would like future development to be able to opt in. Like Mr. Grambergs has pointed out, it might not be practical with grade changes, and it might not be the best way to design a future development. But we do feel like it should be at least available to consider when or if future plans come through this body for consideration. The alley would be allowed to be gated. It would remain a private alley. But if you just imagined that the applicant were proposing a public alley that were not gated, that would of course be a right-of-way available to both sides. So we're not saying that it's going to be public or should be public. We want it to be a private alley, gated or not. But it would sort of achieve what alleys have been achieving for hundreds of years is our purpose. The MATA requirement, so are you familiar with the Memphis Innovation Corridor plans for the bus rapid transit? So the city and MATA are currently in the deep into the planning phases of a bus rapid transit corridor from the central bus station downtown to the University of Memphis that would be different from a normal bus line in a few ways. First of all, the bus would have dedicated lanes downtown. Second of all, the stations will be much less frequent than your normal bus stop. They're occurring maybe once or twice every mile. So it's intended to accommodate a much quicker travel time, and also the bus will be have a faster, a more frequent how do I say this? It will be arriving more frequently than any other bus that currently is in existence in the city. The intention now is to be every 10 minutes. So it is a bus, but it's really meant to function more like a light rail system. So this is going to be a centerpiece of MATA's transit vision, and a stop is proposed, an outbound stop is proposed at that corner in phase 1 of this PD. So somebody at their engineering firm saw this application and reached out to staff and said, hey, I know this is in a separate phase, but is there any chance that we can get this easement recorded as a requirement for this approval? And staff said, okay. So again, the station itself would be, fully on, this is the station here. You would board the bus from and potentially pay at, and would have some other amenities fully in the right of way. This lane right here is where the bus would stop. The asphalt on that lane would be converted to concrete. And then this here on the private property would be a maintenance easement just to afford MATA access if they ever need it for maintenance purposes of the station.
Okay, so if this is part of the application, we wouldn't, I don't think we could then honor the request that it be worked out later. Because what would the mechanism for that be? Unless I'm missing something.
Yes, ma'am. So it can't really be, the precise dimensions of the easement could be worked out later, but this is how the condition currently reads. The seminary shall dedicate in phase 1 a maintenance easement to be coordinated with MATA.
Any further questions?
Madam Chair, I'm still trying to piece this all together too. Where is that easement in relation to their project?
So this is
It shows it's in the curve. Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is the project site outlined in yellow, and the station would be right around here.
So I guess, and I understand the spirit of what you're trying to do, but why burden this project that really doesn't, it's not even part of their site? I understand the applicant's request now, and I understand what you're trying to do too, but I think this is something between the seminary and the city and MATA that could be resolved and really wouldn't have any impact one way. Whether we approve it or reject it, it really wouldn't impact their development, would it?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I would also argue too on the alleyway, if the alleyway was shared between the two properties, that would make more sense to have shared access. But the fact that they're dedicating their ground that they're purchasing for their exclusive access is hard for me to want to force them to share it with a project that we have no clue about the timing or use or site plan of. So if it was shared, it would be different. But since they're purchasing property for this use, I think that they get the access that they want to have.
Well, yeah, that was my question. If we called it a driveway, then would it be shared? You know,
Right.
because it's called an alley.
Right.
You know, so
I'm pretty comfortable with both of the applicants.
Any further questions? Is everybody in an understanding?
Really?
Okay. I will now close the public portion of the meeting.
Move approval of agenda item number 10, MJR 22-14.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair, just to clarify, or maybe I need to offer an amended motion to include the two requests for the deletion of the shared access condition and the MATA bus rapid transit corridor easement condition, those two as requested by the applicant. I'd offer that as an amendment to the motion, please.
Okay, so do we need to?
I'll second that amendment.
Okay, all right. We have a second to that amendment. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Madam Chair, I believe we're down to agenda item number 15.
Yes.
PD 22-05CO, Shelby County, an amendment to Area 6 of the Forest Creek Plan Development allowing townhouse uses. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, is the applicant present? Would you come up and introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Cindy Reeves, SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition?
Yes, ma'am.
There is? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Brenda Solomito Baser, Solomito Land Planning, 1779 Kirby Parkway, Memphis.
Okay, thank you. We're ready for the presentation.
All right, good afternoon. So yeah, the case before us, PD 2205CO. This is at the southeast corner of Mayfield Road, south of Bill Morris Parkway. This is an amendment to Area 6 of the Forest Creek Plan Development allowing townhome uses. The existing zoning is the PD 07342CC 4th Amendment Area 6. So here's the location map, just in unincorporated Shelby County. Here's the aerial of the site and the land use map. So this is surrounds single family and multifamily is sort of been the pattern of development of this Forest Creek PD, which originally back in, I believe, 84 was supposed to be the Service Master headquarters. And, that was quite a while ago and obviously never came to fruition. Here's two site photos. Now, these were site photos that were shown last month because this particular area of the PD does not have any road frontage. It's pretty far back. You can't really get back in there. So here's the outline plan showing the Area 6 highlighted. And here's the site plan. So of note, this Area 7 that's shown on this site plan was approved by this board at last month's agenda as a site plan approval. This particular Area 6 is coming before us as a new PD because the uses requested are of a higher intensity. The original outline plan conditions had this as an R15, so single family residential with 15,000 square foot lot size minimum. The applicant is requesting townhome uses, and as a result, it gets a new PD number. Here are the elevations. They're the same as what was shown on that Area 7, 3-unit townhomes with rear garages. And here's the proposed floor plans of those. And so, in conclusion, the applicant is requesting an amendment to the outline plan conditions to allow townhomes as the approved use and bulk regulations of the RU3 zoning district. This development lies directly west of a previously approved major modification, 488-unit townhome development in Area 7. This proposed development will be using the same entrances off of Mayfield Road as that previously approved May 7th Area 7 site plan, and the private drives will be maintained through an HOA. In staff's opinion, this will not unduly injure or damage the use value and enjoyment of the surrounding property owners or hinder anything in accordance with the code. And so we're recommending approval with revisions to the outline plan conditions and with a site condition that no short-term rentals be allowed, which came about in our last staff meeting, and then obviously changes to the outline plan conditions. It's important to note that both of the two areas, here, I can go back here. Both Area 7 over here and then this Area 1 site plan review that were before us were both appealed by the opposition to county commission. Because this is a plan development new case due to its changing of the outline plan conditions into a more intense use, obviously this will also be forwarded to county commission. So really all of these things, the site plan, both Area 7 and this new Area 6, if approved, will be going to county commission and receive approval from them through the legislative body. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Skinner at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I actually had a PowerPoint, but I know that you're all extremely familiar with this development. In order to save time, I'm not going to go through that one again. We did have a neighborhood meeting, and in our opinion, it went very well. We agreed that instead of asking for CMU 2 or 3 uses, we just only asked for townhouses. So that is our only use that will be allowed on this property. We felt that the RS15 use was not appropriate to be abutting our previous development. We feel this new site plan is a very good site plan and will be the same product that we have previously gotten approved. And I'll reserve the rest of my time for rebuttal, please.
Okay, is there the opposition? We're ready for you.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, Brenda Salamito, Land Planning, 1779 Kirby Parkway. Attorney Lou Wardlow and I are here on behalf of the Irene Neighborhood Association, and the concerns expressed by the neighbors that live in the area and the property owners is both the density and the fact that these will all be 100% rental units. And if you look at this previous exhibit, The corner property there, which is in litigation in court, and they've recently filed an amendment for all townhouses. It was going to be 110 single-family lots. All of the lots have now transitioned to rental. If you go to the second slide, please, Seth. So these are the neighbors' concerns, that you have these 4 phases of this plan development in various stages of approval and appeals and amendments. And we went from a mixture of housing types to right now 72 acres of the same product, all rental townhouses, and a proposal on the board for the corner property to also now be 1 lot, 100% rental townhouses. So the approval that on the corner that was approved by the Shelby County Commissioners is now back going from mixture of housing, opportunity for home ownership, and now just 72 acres of rental units. So I'd like to leave it with Lou Wardlow. Oh, one more point, sorry, next slide. And I think it goes without saying that the letter from Shelby County School Board still stands, that they have concerns because the schools servicing this area, 98% at capacity and one at 104% capacity. Thank you.
I still get to say good morning for a few more minutes. That's not afternoon yet. Lou Wardlaw, Martin Tate Law Firm, 6410 Poplar Avenue, Memphis. This applicant and these neighbors are back before you again. One thing that y'all might find a little bit interesting, I know I do, Brenda and I have stood here opposed to each other dozens, if not 100 times. We're here today backing the same client. That should tell you how important the client and we feel this is. Sometimes in the course of these several developments that keep coming serially, one after the other, every month, sometimes you've agreed with the applicant, and sometimes you've agreed with the neighbors. As staff has said, usually these matters end up before the county commission anyway. One of them is, in fact, in Chancery Court, which is the only avenue which the neighbors are availed to appeal a decision after the county commission. This pushback by the neighbors has led to pretty much unfettered hostility by the developer. Shelby County Equity Partners have made it known that we're not going to put up with it. We're not interested in your opinion, and we're going to do what I want. What that leads to is the development, this one included, the ones that you've seen in December and in February, they're not being done by good design. The development that you see on the screen is developed by anger, driven by spite towards the neighbors. It's designed and intended to put the neighbors in their place. If you question our use, then we're going to insist on a more intensive use. If you question our density, then we're going to insist on a more intensive, denser property. This is not how planning is supposed to work. We're asking, and Brenda put up eloquently, that this proposal should be denied today. But we're also asking this body to look at all of this development as a whole, as it should have been brought, not month after month after month after month. And watch for this pattern of anger and spite and intimidation. The best example is that corner property. It came before this body looked at it, and this body rejected the developer. The developer took it to the county commission in their wisdom approved the property. My clients, the neighbors, appealed that approval. The only method to appeal that approval is to Chancery Court. That's where that property is now. But instead of going through those channels, what you're going to be seeing next month is an even denser, even more intense use to say to the neighbors, you didn't like what we brought to you beforehand? Well, get a load of this. And that's not the way it's supposed to be done. It certainly creates the very undue adverse conditions that the UDC
says that you're here to be the gateway for. I'm here to answer any questions, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Any questions of the opposition? Okay, hearing none. Okay, I'm sorry. Give you a chance for rebuttal. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. When we had our neighborhood meeting, we tried to find the notification for the Irene Neighborhood Association. We went to the state and where they used to be registered, but they have dissolved. So we did find an address of 8560 Old Creek Road. I'm not sure who that person was, but that was the last known person for the Irene Neighborhood Association. So we're not really sure who the Irene Neighborhood Association is or their president, representative, or whatever. So because the state could not let us know who it was, neither could OPD. This is no different than the other approved departments in this planned development to the north and the east of us, except for the fact that these are townhomes and they look like a larger home. So this will look like 3,500 square foot homes instead of 1,500 square foot townhouses. And we feel that that is a better product. It's something that's not in the area. And we feel that it's better than a 3-story walk-up, which is adjacent to this and in the rest of this development. So we feel that our use is a very good use. We've never done anything out of spite or not been interested in the neighborhood. We definitely are interested in the neighborhood and did have a very good neighborhood meeting when we did the planned development neighborhood meeting. Though they were Collierville residents, but we did, I felt it went extremely well, and we were very happy with the outcome of that meeting and the compromise that we made. So we feel that this is a better product, and it's taken us time in order to figure out what the product was that we want, but we are now very happy with what we are proposing, and we're very happy with our elevations and floor plans. We're here for any questions.
Any questions? Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard.
Agenda item number 15, PD 22-05, CO. Move approval.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. 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 Those opposed? We have one nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Agenda item number 16, PD 22-06, Whitehaven. New plan development to allow pure academy educational facility with classrooms, athletic field, dorms, so forth at 4815, 4825, and 4847 Amy Road and 748 Wilson Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pritchard. Okay, applicant, would you give us your name and address, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is John Galwin, and I'm here with my wife, Tammy Galwin. We're the co-applicants, and we reside at 3590 Central Avenue here in Memphis.
Thank you.
Also here with Melvin Cole, who's the Executive Director of Pure Youth Athletic Alliance,
okay,
who has the property.
Okay, thank you. We will hear from the staff.
Okay, Lucas Skinner again, Division of Planning and Development. This is PD 2022-006. Again, a new plan development to allow Pure Academy at Amy and Wilson Roads. Here's an aerial. So this is right where Whitehaven Lane runs into Amy Road, and there's Wilson Road to the south. This is encompassing several parcels along this entire block. So we'll go from north to south. Zoning and land use to give you an idea of what's going on. There's a church across sort of Amy and the railroad tracks to the southeast. Essentially rather vacant and also residential uses surrounding the property. Some somewhat recent site photos. There is this large fence. It's kind of right where Whitehaven runs into Amy, right at that intersection, sort of approaching the lot. There's this fence. There are several buildings to the site existing. One being the house that's there sort of shown in the left picture with that sign for the academy. This second photo on the right sort of shows from the north where Whitehaven Lane extends, what the property looks like looking from that angle as well. Here's sort of the conceptual site plan. The addition to the PD is really to allow several more buildings, a portable classroom, which has actually already been approved. So this PD would be really to allow this training facility, a dining slash multi-purpose sort of hall behind the house, parking, as well as a dorm building, and then the practice football field just kind of there to the north of this site. This is somewhat of a landscape plan to show the applicant is proposing kind of some interesting, very unique landscaping, which staff is very much in approval for. It should be very much surrounding the site, add some good greenery and some uniqueness to the site as well. So in conclusion, this is sort of a multi-purpose, multi-building plan development to allow Pure Academy, again, really for sort of training, dining, dorm, to allow basically this large educational facility along with a practice football field for the academy. Staff found it to be very in line, very unique use for the area. It was consistent with Memphis 3.0. Therefore, we're recommending approval with the outline plan conditions found on page 20 and 21 of the staff report. That's the end of my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. We're ready for you.
I think I can officially say good afternoon now.
Yes.
Again, John Galwin is the applicant on PD 2022-006, along with my wife Tammy and Melvin Cole. I also like to thank our engineer who's here, Joel Johnson from Burr and Cole, and Taylor Gray, who's been our real estate attorney, who is also one of my law partners who's here with us. So to explain just a little bit, Pure Youth Athletic Alliance is a 501c3 not-for-profit that was founded by Melvin Cole. Its sole mission is to break the cycle of generational poverty by serving at-risk, underprivileged boys, grades 9 through 12. He uses education, mentorship, and athletics to change their lives for the better. Since 2011, Mr. Cole has helped dozens of young men become first-generation college students and now college graduates. While most of Pure students and the participants are escaping the grips of extreme poverty and gang life in Memphis, Mr. Cole's established an incredible record throughout his tenure at Pure of keeping all of Pure's participants out of contact with the juvenile justice system. Mr. Cole has been building character and transforming young men for the better part of a decade now. And I would just submit to this board that if we had 30 Melvin Coles in this community, we would probably eradicate one of the most significant issues that we all know exist, unfortunately, in this great city we live in. In 2018, my wife and I, who've been avid supporters of the Pure program, giving of both our time and our treasure over the years, and myself chairing Mr. Cole's board for a number of years and still serving on that board of directors, we purchased 4847 Amy, 4825 Amy, and 748 Wilson behind those two properties. And then a short time later, 4815 on the corner there at Whitehaven Lane in Amy. At that point in time, the property was very blighted, and we ended up having to raise a couple of buildings on the property, but we were also able to go in and greatly renovate the two existing houses that are on the property. There was basically a swamp in the northwest area with a lot of down trees and sort of a pond that had become stagnant. and we were able to level that, and that would be the 50-yard practice field, which Mr. Cole uses for the athletic program for the boys. While my wife and I had the resources to purchase the property for Pure, we did not have our own personal resources to do the development that's before you today. So since that time, since 2018, she and I have been working with the board of Pure to get commitments for those resources. And I'm very pleased to tell you that we have those commitments so that we can move forward today, and it makes this PD application timely for us to move forward. We had a neighborhood meeting on April 4th. I see that there are a couple of the neighbors, there were 7 neighbors that attended that meeting. We didn't receive any objections to what our proposal was, but I guess I would reserve the balance of my time if there's any comments that need to be addressed, and I'm certainly available along with our engineer and our attorney to answer, and Mr. Cole to answer any questions the board may have of us, but we certainly thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the applicant at this time? Hearing none, we're ready for the opposition. We have 2 cards from the opposition. Ms. Holliday and Ms. Scott. Just one at a time. Okay. Give us your name and address.
Good morning. I'm Shirley Holliday, and 1251 North Lionsgate. Okay, this is going to be very complicated, I think, because these projects were started in 2018, and we didn't know anything about it. We looked up, and there were these big trucks, and they were moving dirt, they're uprooting trees. And also, I like to talk about Mr. Wade, because there's another problem with them putting up a fence on his property, part of his property. And then there's another problem with Whitehaven Lane. 737, the fence goes all the way around to that portion, which is in front of my grandmother's house. And for some reason, it was omitted on this neighborhood meeting. You have 4715, 4815, 4825, and 4874. Amy, okay. But you left out the Wilson, which is around the corner. Okay, now, this letter, the next notice that we received, which was from Memphis and Shelby County Division of Planning and Development, they included 748 Wilson Road. And this is next to Mr. Wade's property. And I'm sorry he had to leave, so I'm standing in for him because his brother got sick and they had to carry him home. Okay, so we didn't know anything about it, so it seemed like if this has been approved already and we didn't even know, we had to have a meeting for what was to find out what was going on over in our neighborhood. And Councilor Parisi, Miss Robinson, and Conrad, he was the councilman at that time, and he was saying that this was a blighted neighborhood, which it is. And there's still no improvements. You know, we were having break-ins. Matter of fact, I think they had a break-in at this property. And just a couple of weeks ago, at our church, which is Middle Baptist Church, where we were having our church service, in the meantime, somebody's out there in the parking lot breaking windows and breaking into cars. So I just feel like that this is not an ideal location for the school. I commend the young man that this is wonderful, what he's doing, because I take my hat off to him. But the idea is you're putting these at-risk young men into an environment that's already out of control. And with them, they're not, these property owners, They're not even cooperating with us because we had to go through great length to find out what was going on in our community. Matter of fact, they had the streets blocked, and I ended up calling the police department, the range precinct, to find out they're blocking the streets. Can we get through there? You know, and it was kind of like a little bullying. So now, with Mr. Wade, I guess they're in the process of moving the fence that they put up. So it seemed like it's something here that you want to work with these at-risk kids, but we have adult people here that are acting like children, in my opinion. So I think that this particular thing is out of control, and it needs to have more than just one meeting. And then the other point is, if this is a school and you already have everything in place, and the map that we received with this is stating that, okay, you already have one portable area, which is on the Wilson side. Before that, they had a big tent up there. Now they got a portable school, and you want a school, and what is your curriculum for this school? You know, and so I think that you're just meeting requirements of what this commission is asking for, because the school has been there since 2018. So that causes a problem for me. And then now the house that was there, they gutted that house, and now he's saying that they want to put a dorm there. Okay, now what I think that's the most important thing to them is it academic? You're saying that these kids had to be put out of a regular school because they weren't getting the proper grades and so forth. So now, if your main objective is for these kids to play football, you're putting them at a disadvantage. Because if they go to a restaurant and they can't read a menu, a simple menu to order food without a picture being there, what is that saying for our kids? First of all, we're at a disadvantage already from day one. I commend what he's doing, but the idea, if your main focus is on football, and that's just a pipe dream for these kids, because later on, everybody's not going to be a professional football player. And you're putting it in this area, so if you have to have, what kind of teachers are you going to have there? What kind of curriculum do you have for these children? Why? Why do this to these children? They're already behind the 8 ball as it is. They need supervision. They need to be able to work and be productive.
Okay. All right.
And that's very important because everybody can't relate to what I'm saying, but a few people can relate to what I'm saying. If you can't read and you can't write, what good is holding a football? And if you get a contract, you can't even read it. And everybody's not going to get that. There are people out there now that don't even have, they're good football players, but they're not going to make it to the games.
Okay, we thank you. We have one more person, and they have just a few minutes left, like 2 minutes.
And I
Thank
think that
you.
all of this needs to be considered before we go into a voting or whatever you're going into, and look into this thoroughly and see what happened to us. And I have emails from other people that say, well, what's going on over there?
Okay.
And we had to dig for it, for information.
Thank
It
you.
should have been freely given to us.
And Ms. Scott? You have
Good
about a
afternoon.
minute and a half.
A minute. Okay, I'll try to make it really brief. Good afternoon to all of you all. My basic concern, I am a resident of 710 Whitehaven Lane. That's my address. My main concern, just to piggyback on what Ms. Holliday said, was as neighbors and people of the community, we were not even made aware 4 years ago that this was going on. Woke up one morning, heard all of this banging and crashing, didn't know what was going on. I reached out to our council person. She, in turn, initially had a meeting September of 2018. That was our first meeting. And this setting has been so educating and enlightening to me because I see where other people have come together with the community and said, okay, this is what we're planning to do. What are your thoughts? What are your concerns? We didn't have that opportunity initially. So from 2018 up until now, just a few months ago, we got letters saying, oh, there's a public forum. We were doing a meeting. What do you guys think? They were already established. And let me just point out here briefly before my time is up. I see where they have the photos of the fence. I contacted somebody, I think I emailed a Mr. Josh back in 2018 to voice my concern about that fence. It is so tall. And when people are traveling from Whitehaven Lane on to go to over the railroad tracks, their sight is blocked. That fence is so tall, you cannot see oncoming traffic. Plus, you have to watch the traffic that's coming from Amy. And there have been times where I've had complete almost run-ins, and I was so concerned about it that I actually took my phone and I have video that I sent to someone with the city saying, hey, this is an accident waiting to happen. They're here, they didn't talk to us about anything, what they're doing, but this is what's going on. I commend what they're doing with the young men. And I think initially they were thinking that we were like, hey, we don't want these children. I'm not going to refer to them as kids because I was always told that kids are baby goats. These children, this is what we're doing to help them. So I'm in agreement. I just ask you all to please just consider that we were not given an opportunity to know exactly what was going on until now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. First of all, do you have any questions of the opposition? Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. With respect to the fence that was referenced by both of the objectors, that was the only thing that these two objectors raised at the meeting was a discussion about the fence. In 2018, I went to Planning and Development and got an administrative deviation in order to construct the fence that's around the property now. We then paid a contractor to come and erect the fence after we had received that approval from Planning and Development. About a month later, I got a call from Josh Whitehead, who was with Planning and Development at the time, and a city engineer had gone out and said that because the fence was at a 90-degree angle at Whitehaven Lane and Amy, that it obstructed the view at that intersection. And so I went out and met with them, as did my wife, and they spray painted at the intersection the angle that the fence needed to be moved. We then paid for the fence to be moved at that angle. We had a representative at the neighborhood meeting from the Memphis Police Department who reported to us that there have been no accidents at that intersection. But I did want to point out that we did the right approval process for the fence, and then we even subsequently paid to move it for that very concern. So I think we're compliant completely with respect to the fence. But obviously, if the neighbors do have a problem, we were more than agreeable to dealing with that. The first objector referenced Mr. Wade. He owns the parcel, the vacant lot next to us on Wilson. We have an offer to purchase his property, and we've been discussing that with us. He gave us permission to erect the fence along his property. When he came to the neighborhood meeting, he asked us to take that down, and we have done that. I think he's posturing with us with respect to a price that he wants us to pay for the property. But we've complied with his request and we moved. He had previously given us permission to put it there. He withdrew that and we moved it. So I think we're in compliance. One of the objectors mentioned our curriculum. I would just point out that when these young men come to us, we test them, and they've all tested, unfortunately, when they're 9th and 10th and 11th graders on a 3rd and 4th grade reading and math level. Within a year of being in our program, curriculum, which is a professional curriculum adopted and implemented by my wife who operates this. We've raised them to grade level within a matter of months. So I think we're performing our mission quite ably in the area of education. And we have been completely compliant since purchasing the property with all of the R6 zoning to date. What we're doing now is so that we can do what is in the proposal to have this Pure Academy on the site. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further questions of the applicant?
I do have a question. I believe it's Ms. Scott. Is that right?
Ms. Scott?
No, it's of the applicant. But she brought up, if you'll come up, please, Mr. Goldman. No, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Could you please, the applicant, could you please address the oversight? I'm sorry. This is for the applicant. John. I was making a comment about her comment, which had to do the oversight of the students and those that'll be in the dorms. Can you just explain to us? I mean, this isn't just kids, students run amok. They have oversight and people on staff on the premises who'll be overlooking the dorms. Is that correct?
Yes, great question, Mr. Fleming. So Mr. Cole right here is the head, will be the head of this Pure Academy, and he's been head of Pure for a number of years now. Discipline and character are two of the fundamental principles that he emphasizes more than anything, because this is a character building program. Our kids in this program come out of street gangs, they come out of extremely impoverished environments, and they are under supervision 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. He has football was mentioned. Football is just used as a tool to get many of these kids into college, and Mr. Cole has great results there, sending them to Alabama and Tennessee and Notre Dame and Baylor and UT Martin and University of Memphis and North New Mexico State and so forth. But none of our kids have run amok. They are under great supervision. They have proctors. A lot of these kids have come and actually in the interim stayed in my house, in my guest rooms with my wife and me, and they are some of the most well-behaved, nice young men that you could hope to deal with. And the reason they are is because of the program that Mr. Cole administers through Pure. It's a real holistic program. So there's a spiritual aspect to it. It's sort of a single sanction, Scott. If anything happens that would be, theft or whatever, it's dealt with and up to the point of expulsion almost immediately. So he runs a tight ship, so to speak.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I have a comment. Thank you. I don't think the question is the quality of the program. My history, I used to listen to a lot of the council, city council meetings, and one rule some veteran council people that are no longer serving now used to tell me, would you want it next door to your mother's house, to your house? And everyone supports programs as long as they're not next door in their community or to their homes. For that reason, I'm sensitive to these neighbors, but I would dare say I want all of us to really consider that. Would you want the facility next door to your house or to your mother's house, to your children's house? And I think the program is wonderful, but I'm sensitive to this neighborhood, and for that reason, I'm not supporting this expansion that they're doing out of consideration. And then I'm very disheartened to hear that they didn't even know about this, judging by what they have said. And, typically in our communities, we just put things there and we're not accustomed to people protesting or speaking up. And for this reason, this one, it doesn't matter how good the program is. I mean, I want things done the right way and these people respect it and respect their community. I'm quite familiar with this community. And again, my issue is not with your program, but would we want it next door to our house? And I heard the addresses where the applicants live. They don't live near this place. And I'm sensitive to this neighborhood, and I side with them.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Madam
Yes.
Chair, this gentleman in the pink shirt has had his hand up, and I'd like to recognize him. Sir, would you like to come to the microphone and make a few comments?
Thank you. That's what I was going to ask. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Melvin Cole, and I just want to say that these kids are the community. It's not like we're moving into the community. I have lived in Whitehaven. There's a Whitehaven High School that's next door to our community already. So we already have schools and everything in this zone there. So it wasn't a barbaric. So let me kind of give you guys a history, just like Mr. Judd said. Me and those kids was homeless, and they found that blighted property, and we just needed somewhere to live. We didn't know about notifying the neighborhood and everything that was going on. I was literally sleeping on this man's couch. So I didn't know to go and ask the neighbor. I was trying to save these kids' lives that had nothing. So it wasn't we were moving in. Our kids live in double the national average of poverty in Memphis and food hardship, so they are our city. If we're familiar with that area, two-lane projects have been creating crimes and killings and drugs for years, and nobody protested it. My family has died in there from drug use, so I understand all of that. But this is what I say, if we don't have these kids next door being supervised, they're just gonna be in y'all living room, threatening y'all lives and y'all personal items. So, I mean, the best place is for them to be in their neighborhood. There is already 2 schools within a half-a-mile radius of our facility. Right now, what I'll say is this is the right way, because when Mr. John them first bought the property, yeah, we had Pier, but it wasn't the Pier Academy and what's going on now. And we kept our kids down to make sure we stayed between the 6 kids that can hear the 6 kids. So we've broken no rules. We've been supported by the city councilman for the last 5 years for funding. The mayor, we just got a big grant from the Shelby County Commissioner. So we've done everything aboard. Now, yes, did I find that the Memphis airport needed spot to dump their dirt, and I hurried up and asked the guy because we had a 17-foot drop, and I didn't know I was supposed to notify people? Yeah, I did that, but we saved lives, and I think it would be crazy for anyone in here not to consider these kids' lives and their safety. Our kids live in double the national average of poverty, and there's no facility in this city where a kid can go if he hadn't committed a crime or he's not clinically mental ill. This is what our city needs. Have we did some miscommunication? Yes and no, but just as I said, in 2018, we held a whole town hall meeting in Whitehaven Community Center. We asked each and everybody what was their concerns, what was going on. We was part of the Blue Cross Blue Shield park that was being planned and that was going on in the neighborhood. So I actually helped put some of those ideas in that park to help those kids. I work with Patricia Robinson, Commissioner Jones. I've been in that area with Mr. Ford. So I am of the community. I live directly on that site with those kids. 24/7 like I did for the last 11 years.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
I just want y'all to understand that. So it is our neighborhood. These is our kids. And I would want something where we're sending more kids to college than anyone else next door to me. We will. And if football is football saved my life. I don't know about anybody else, but I wouldn't have had an opportunity to go to college without football. So the only thing I can do is give these kids what I know. If somebody knows golfing, we can do golfing. But I can assure you my education is far greater. We keep a small classroom, 1 to 5, making sure these kids are being nurtured in the environment. The study just came out, only 11% of our kids can read in Shelby County schools. That may be where we need to be focusing the curriculum on. But I just want y'all to know, because we're saying these kids, they're just like me and you and everybody else here. They're not bad kids, they just have poor opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
We appreciate your comments very much.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, Madam Chair. This reminds me very much of the neighborhood school. On Tillman Avenue, it was begun by a Christian couple because they saw there was a need for at-risk boys at that time, it's now co-ed, to be educated, not only just curriculum, but with a religious aspect to it, because that really helps. It gives them a baseline for life. And John Walt just recently died, but he and his wife Jo did a great thing for the Tillman neighborhood and have been recognized for that. But this is what I think you're trying to achieve down there. A good curriculum, but an all-around lifestyle, and I commend you for it.
Okay, Mr. Thomas.
As I stated before, I am not critical of the program at all, but most of us still, these people have to live there. When we voted this and we go to our neighborhoods, to our homes, and I'm sensitive to the neighborhood, and it appears the neighborhood is opposed to this, so I stand with the neighborhood. We don't have to live there, they do. And I urge my colleagues to support the neighborhood with this project.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, have we closed the public portion? I'd like to say something once we close the public portion.
Okay. You want to say it now?
No, you can go ahead and close out the public portion.
Okay, then we'll have discussion. So you can only say something in discussion.
We have to have a motion, I think is what he wants.
We have to open it back up. I haven't closed the portion, the public portion. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think Mr. McKinnon wants to speak after the public hearing has been closed.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting. Now, do we have a motion?
Yes, we do. We'll go to agenda item number 16, case number PD 2022-006.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and second. Now we have time for discussion.
Born and reared here in Memphis, raised in Orange Mound. My grandparents, we were the house that everybody came and played basketball at. We didn't have anything significant there, maybe some snacks, Gatorades, and basketball goal, but that's about it. A lot of times it was more about the camaraderie and the fellowship that we actually built, because a lot of those guys I still know today, and they know me very well. Football saved my life as well. I've been to play Division I professional football, so I understand the education you get from actually playing organized sports. I can't say, hey, this is a bad place or this is a great place to have it, but it's a place that wasn't utilized prior to Mr. Cole and the Peer Academy taking hold of it and actually doing something. I commend them for the program as well. The fencing, I think, was a initiative to take to say, hey, we don't want anybody to say, hey, what are those kids doing over there running around, jumping and wrestling or whatever they may be doing behind that fence, just to give everybody else a peace of mind. That's what I could think about that particular instance. Don't want to overshadow what you guys may feel. I do not live in a neighborhood. However, my sentiment is that, hey, if somebody's doing something that's positive, has not ruined the neighborhood, has not foreshadowed or brought negativity, I have to be in support for that. I think this is a group of young men that may not know what it is to have a life of luxury or that education or whatever the future may hold for them. But in due time, at this time, having that organized sports, having people that you can talk to and call on is something that's really needed in a place that they could be loved on and actually express themselves. I think something like that is definitely what community really needs.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. You want to take an individual vote? Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Wilbanks?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
Dr. Pritchard?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Chair Claus Wallace?
Yes.
And Chair Sharp?
No.
Ms. O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. Is there any further business, information, news, anything we need? Okay.